mic is live, the stage is set. Words like fire you won't forget. Every topic, every thread. Living stories in your head. Turn it up, feel the beat ignite. Conversations flowing bright. In your ears, day or night. This is the sound that feels so right. Mic is live, the stage is set. Words like fire you won't forget. Every topic, every thread. Living stories in your head.
As always, everything we discuss is for entertainment and is speculation. Please like and subscribe, and definitely join our discussion in the comments. If you're ready, let's get into it. Welcome back to Typically Unique. I hope everybody's having a great day. I'm your host, Kim, and we are going to get into it today. We have a show. We are going to finish up watching Lucy Morningstar's video about the AT&T timing advance records and analyzing that. So big questions: who's telling the truth? Who's covering things up, allegedly? So there's lots of proof to see here in this video. So while we're waiting, I just wanted to tell you a little bit what's been going on. It's been over a week. Well, no, I think I went live Thursday, didn't I? So it was a crazy busy weekend around here. So it was Carlos's birthday weekend, and so we celebrated that, and we had a football party Sunday. Anybody watch football on Sunday? And I've been doing projects, so I'm trying to get some stuff done as part of my present to Carlos. He has a computer room that I'm organizing for him. So I'm working on that. So good morning, Hemisphere. Good morning, Ro. Meg, you guys see Meg in here, and Mike was chatting with you guys a little bit. How's everybody doing today? While we're waiting a few minutes for people to join, please take a minute to hit that thumbs up. Yeah, I said I was wearing Rebel Red today. So there's some issues with the AT&T timing advanced records, and my question is, once we go over all of this today, what can happen with this information that we now know? Not a red shirt. Nope. Shirt color's black today. My daughter's got a game later. She's in tournament time, and so I had to get ready because as soon as this live's over, I'm probably gonna have to go run to that. I keep the book for the basketball game, which is fun. All right. All right. So I'm just gonna get into it. We're just gonna get into it. Why are we going over this? So the big question is BK's car, Bryan Kohberger's car. They have it caught on video. Supposedly, they're claiming they have caught it on video in multiple locations. So is it his car? And where are these locations, right? What was his location? Because there was the big question about his alibi, and he said he wasn't there. He was over by Wawaway Park. So you would think with technology today that can be proven. And when we watch these hearing clips, we're going to see what the big debate was. We started this last week, and we are finishing it up, and it is going to be clear by the end of today, in my opinion, what was had, who had it, how they had it, why they were able to have it. Also, why it's got to be a secret. Hello, Kathleen Bell. Good to see you. Good to see you. All right, so I'm just going to start with showing the video locations. I know we've all seen this, but just as some background information, and Christie's Chaos channel has some good videos on this. So we're going to look at what the state was claiming first. We're going to start with this one. Make sure it's showing up. All right. Man, Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? The sound's back. Okay. I don't know what happened. I do not know what happened. I share videos all the time. I'm just sharing a video, and maybe it was because I don't know. I did remove myself from the stage, but that shouldn't do it. But I am so sorry about that. I was talking the whole time. Okay, so quickly, Bryan's car and his location is the big question, right? And because for his alibi, they want to prove he was somewhere else. So this is Christie's Chaos video, and it is showing the first car right there. Clearly has, if you can blow it up on your device, look at it clearly, it has fog lights, right? And that's at the timestamp says 2:43:56. I thought in the PCA, which I know PCA, I know, but I thought the prosecution was claiming 2:47. So if anybody knows to clarify that time, is that time off compared to what the prosecution has said? Let me know. All right, so that's that time, and then I think she's got it coming back. Let me see. In the morning. I'm going to find it. Okay. Let's back that up. So the car coming back, I think we can catch it right here. All right. How many sets of lights in the front can you see there? That does not have fog lights. So my opinion is that it was not Bryan leaving, but it is Bryan coming home. That's what it looks like. That's what it looks like. So we're going to get into the big court debate between the defense and the prosecution. It looks like a video game. Yeah. What was said at all the hearings between them about AT&T timing advanced data and asking for that, who had it, and all of that. Let's look at this other footage of in the neighborhood. Now, this is Christie's Chaos, and I love that she has a, is this the one where she has a couple things going on? No, this is just the 4:04 time. Let me share again. So this is going to be the footage. I know we've all seen it a million times, but I just want to, again, set the stage here. I think it's that one. So this is a split camera angle. So in the bottom right is Linda Lane. And then the big screen that's inserted into the 1112 vantage point, which is what I'm mainly looking at to see the car they claim is Bryan's coming around the corner. So you'll be able to see the headlights coming from the far right at the top under the timestamp. And look at all the lights that are on down at that end of the street. So here it comes. You can see it lighting up. I'm stopping it every once in a while to see if you can even catch the headlights. Are there fog lights or not? Or no? You can't tell. So maybe the one part I caught it is like right under the pumpkin railing. Right there. And to me, it does look like one, but did you see it? Yeah. Just that far right. So I don't know. It is very hard to tell. Hi, Murky Piglet. Oh, thank you. Thanks for hitting that like button. Yeah, I'm glad to see you green too. Yes, definitely. Probably Meg or Leslie. They were handing out memberships last time. So thanks for coming in and saying hello. Hemisphere says that's hard to be positive about after over to only get a handful of interviews and a bunch of run around. Okay. Yeah. Trying to identify this car here. 22,000 white Elantras, right? In that area, a lot of them. So the point is, this car is hard to identify. And if the prosecution, this is my thinking, if the prosecution is claiming that they didn't have the AT&T timing advance records, so they can't use that for mapping out a route or location or anything like that, then they're only using these videos, right? Maybe some call detail record, tower pings like that, but that's a broad area. And if you can't clearly identify the car and then using that for mapping purposes, I just don't think that makes that very scientific, right? Hemisphere, you don't have BS in chat. I wasn't sure I understood it. That's why. I just wasn't under with the 70 applications. I wasn't sure. So you can clarify. I just wasn't sure. You're good. You're good. Hello, Christina. Good to see you today. Hello, everybody that's watching. All right. So now we know that what we're doing here. We are going to continue on with Lucy's video, and we are going all the way to the end. Hopefully, is this it? Yeah. All right. We left off at about 26 minutes. Now, remember, just to recap, I'm going to start it right here. We started off with congressional hearings showing the FBI, the head of the FBI, testifying in front of Congress about FISA. And oh my gosh, Lucy sent me so many messages about what that stands for and everything. Federal Investigative Surveillance, something. Hey, Charm Free, thanks for becoming a member. Awesome. Hope you're having a great day. Turning more people green in here. That's awesome. Welcome, welcome. So the FBI was talking about, and Congress, the Congress members are calling him out about being able to collect data on American citizens. They are not supposed to be able to do it for American citizens. It's supposed to be for foreigners, foreign people in our country, right? And if you're going to try to get information about American citizens in America, you need a warrant. That's what we have covered basically so far. So we're going to continue on from that. if I can choose the right tab. I got it. Right there. Yep. There he is. Oh boy. I've heard his name recently in the news. You don't have to like the content of what they're talking about. They're talking political content, but the point of it is discussing being able to access U.S. citizens' data.
Come tell the legislature, come tell the Congress what's going on. Look out. You will be retaliated against. Ask Garrett O'Boyle, who told Congress about these issues. Took his clearance, they took his pay, they took his kids' clothes. Ask Gary Shapley, 14-year veteran at the IRS, handled some of the biggest international tax fraud cases at the agency. He comes forward, and the Justice Department kicks him off the case.
Okay, I am going to be stopping this often because it's not just the video that has the information, it is the text on the screen, and that's what we need to discuss during this. So let's see this. So the first part said sending the FBI to Gabriela Vargas's house. Remember when that happened? Sending the FBI to investigate an expert witness over possible statements made that contradict testimony is not the way such a situation is typically handled.
But here's what's truly unbelievable. Here's what's amazing. With all that history, with all that, the Justice Department and the FBI want the taxpayers they censored, the parents they labeled, the pro-life Catholics they called radical. They want them to pay for a new FBI headquarters. And they want FISA reauthorization of the 702 program in its current form. It's in the director's opening statement. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. There are 204,000 reasons why.
Thank you, Murky Piglet. I saw that. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. All right. This is the whole point, you guys. And we're going to be thanking Lucy all day. Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. So it's one thing to discuss all these, oddities, and that doesn't make sense. I'll say all the time to Carlos, like, and watching these hearings and questioning things. But Lucy is bringing the receipts, right? Going all the way back to like constitutional law and this section 702 addressing the legal manner that oversees all of this, right? What are the rules and how are they abiding by them or sneaking by them? Allegedly. All right. I greatly appreciate the donations, and I made a little thank you, Murky Piglet. I hope she was still in here to catch that. There's Lucy girl. There she is. All right. Moving on.
Republicans will oppose FISA reauthorization in its current form. 204,000 times the FBI improperly searched the 702 database. And unlike the FBI censorship, in the court's opinion, that was focused on conservatives, the FBI's illegal scrutiny wasn't just limited to conservatives. BLM supporters were illegally scrutinized by the FBI as well. And I hope our Democrat friends will join us in opposing reauthorization of Section 702 the way it's currently done. And I think they will. And I hope they will work with us in the appropriations process to stop the weaponization of the government against the American people and end this double standard that exists now in our justice system. With that, I yield to the gentleman from New York for an opening statement.
Desperate to find out the timeline in this case and when the state knew what and when. There's no question that motions to suppress are coming. Motions to suppress are coming on warrants. And whether or not those motions to suppress are based on Frank's material because misrepresentation
Oh my gosh, I was muted. Okay, sorry, you guys. I'm going to get it together. So this is the search warrant. It's for the time period of June 23rd, 2022 to August 2022. And it was a T-Mobile search warrant. But interesting that they're going back from June to August, which is way outside that 7 days that they're talking about, right? All right. Blow up the chat with muted. Apparently, I'm having one of those days with my microphone. If you can't hear me. And welcome in, everybody. There are 70 wonderful people in here. Hello to everybody. Hi, Inside Your Bones. Hi, Some Blonde 27. Yvonne. Momo's Thinking. Hello. Good to see everybody. I'm going to try to keep it this big and see.
Are made depends on the timeline. So if there's a representation made in a warrant that things happened in a certain way, if we are able to look at the timeline and say, we know that the state knew this when, that gives us an answer on whether or not the suppression issue includes a truthful statement in the affidavit. And if I'm not making sense, I want you to tell me to clarify that. But
is what CAS does, the experience that's involved, SA Balance's own experience. And then the law enforcement officer then states from information.
Okay, hold on. Technical difficulty. You guys, I had it on 400% and then I couldn't see the pause button. I'll get it right back. Hold on. It was, we saw that. And then,
line
all right,
all of the evidence
right here. Okay. This is a doc, one of the release docs for the Verizon extended warrant. And I'm going to read the highlighted parts. On March 30th, 2023, I applied for a warrant for call data records from June 23rd, 2022 to August 1st, 2022, associated with the T-Mobile accounts with any of the following numbers. So these are Verizon accounts, but they're asking for T-Mobile. What am I missing here, Lucy? I applied for a warrant for call detail records associated with the T-Mobile accounts with Verizon wireless numbers. Am I confused? I'm going to read the rest of it and I'm going to come back and see what you're saying in chat. On March 30th, 2023, the warrant was granted and signed by Magistrate Megan Marshall with 14 days to serve the legal process. On April 3rd, 2023, at approximately 11:04 hours, the warrant was served via the Verizon law enforcement email. On May 1st, 2023, I received an email from Verizon stating the data requested pursuant to the warrant was available to download. I logged into the law enforcement portal and began downloading the files to the forensic computers located in the secure forensic computer lab at the Moscow Police Department. All right, there it is, you guys. May 2nd, 2023 is when this was written. And they applied for a warrant for call data records. I'm wondering if that's just like a copy paste when they put associated with the T-Mobile accounts for Verizon numbers, because clearly down here, they're saying that it was through Verizon. May 1st, 2023, I received an email from Verizon stating the data request to the warrant was available to download. Okay. Making those points. All right, let me see your comments. Hi, Leslie. Sometimes they all use T-Mobile towers when they jump from tower to tower. Okay, that's what I was wondering. Was it like, so thank you for clarifying that, but it still was weird to me. AT&T, mobile Verizon. I was reading it wrong. All phone. Lucy included all the phone warrants because she's covering all the bases. Do we know whose numbers? When it was talking about the victims, I thought it was Kaylee and Maddie. I thought.
Evidence in this case, and when the state knew what it knew, or why certain things were being looked at before Mr. Kohberger's arrest, or well into late in the year in 2023 related to the victims, and try to piece together, is that something that the state is still seeking because they're pursuing the alternate suspects that exist in this case? There's so many things that we're trying to understand. So what we're asking you to do is enter an order compelling them to produce the subpoenas. You see that they had at least two in the position.
Okay, so you can see on the screen, in April 2023, AT&T was not providing timing advance data. And when we say that, we mean the legal route that the state and the local prosecutors could legally obtain and be out in the open and show everybody. They were not able to do that. And then down at the bottom, she says in 2022 ? In April 2023 ? Oh, because it says, where did the FBI obtain the AT&T timing advance data?
Their possession that they possess, and it will clarify it for us.
Nicholas Balance as well.
Yes, ma'am.
What was the distance that you had in proximity to him?
He sat in the same lab that I did.
And so was that a cubicle setting? Can you describe the setting?
It's a secured forensic lab. It has a door.
And then inside, is it open? Were you in separate offices?
It's a single room.
Single room. And so you were literally in the same room with Agent Balance?
Yes, ma'am.
And was that for the entire time that he was co-located there?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you aware of his ability to have access to AT&T records without a warrant?
No, ma'am.
All right. She flat out asked, were you aware of his ability, Agent Balance of the FBI, to obtain the AT&T timing advance records, right? Because the state can't get it. Moscow Police Department can't get it. Someone else has to get it. We only have 33 likes. Please, if you don't mind, take a moment to hit that like button. I appreciate that. Hey, Lore, I see you.
Your Honor, item 2B in our fourth motion to compel is item 224. That's the CAS biz law. And this one is rough. The court heard last week Detective Mowry say, I don't have any of those, except I found these other items that we'll give you now, which were not Mowry's CAS biz laws. The hard part for us about this one, Judge, and I have to make a record. I think you can order them to double check, and I'm going to ask you to order them to double check. But the hard part of this for me is that on January 9th, we asked for these CAS biz logs. And the response was from the state was CAS biz does not produce logs. And that's just not true. It does. It's capable. It produces.
Okay. January 9th, 2023. Ann Taylor saying, can we get your CAS viz logs, right? They have the right to conduct their own investigation and look at all of the evidence. And they were told by the prosecution or by Mowry, who was testifying, that CastViz does not provide those logs. And she just said that is not true. That is not true. So if you want to keep track of these points of information that are not adding up, that's one right there. This hearing we're watching right here is January 2025, right?
Laws. You heard that in the testimony. Then we filed our motion to compel and explain we have an expert, produces logs. We're going to bring them.
Sorry, no, it's not, because that's Judge. So that must be back. This still must be back in 2023. Lucy, don't scream at me. Just correct me in the chat. But that was Judge.
And the response was the working files were not saved. We received that response on April 23rd, 2024. And then on May 10th, we got a little bit more explanation about default settings were used and optional session files were not uploaded. This is really, really difficult because of the varying answers that we've received. The courts heard testimony from Mr. Ray about how important these logs are to know what was done. This is really challenging. We can't recreate what.
Okay, let's just look at all the excuses.
Located there.
Yes, ma'am.
Were you aware of?
And I have to make a record. I think you can order them to double check, and I'm going to ask you to order them to double check. But the hard part of this for me is that on January 9th, we asked for these CAST-VIZ logs. And the response was from the state was CAST-VIZ does not produce logs. And
this is like their MO, you guys. So first they say, we don't have it. We can't get it. In this instance, they're saying CAST-VIZ doesn't do that. Okay. So then they get called out on that. And so then they come up with another reason.
That's just not true. It does. It's capable. It produces logs. You heard that in the testimony. Then we filed our motion to compel and explain we have an expert, produces logs. We're going to bring them. And the response was the working files were not saved. We received that.
So then they say, oh, well, okay, yeah, it does. It does produce them, but they weren't saved.
That response on April 23rd, 2024. And then on May 10th, we got a little bit more explanation about default settings were used and optional session files were not uploaded. This is really, really difficult because of the varying answers that we've received. The courts heard testimony from Mr. Ray about how important these logs are to know what was done. This is really challenging. We can't recreate what Detective Mallory, who testified before the grand jury, did, unless the court orders that we get the tower list he used and we have the CAST-VIZ program. And quite frankly, that's what we want. We need to see how this work was done. This is important work. I'll tell you the other thing that's really troubling and frustrating, aside from the other files that we received in preparation for motion to compel, is these screenshots that we got for the first time last week when we're on a motion to compel and have a witness before the court. We didn't.
Okay, so this is a slide about CAST, basic historical cell site analysis. What do we need? You need the date and time of the crime. You need the location of the crime scene. You need the call detail records. That's the subject's phone records. You need the tower list for the cellular service provider. How do we illustrate that on a map? We use call detail records and we use a tower list and then CAST-VIZ. And then so the call detail records and the tower list goes into the CAST-VIZ program.
Have those screenshots that Detective Mallory created before. The only thing we had was Exhibit 48 that was given to the grand jury, which is a video that was handed over then. So this is really problematic to be told these varying things and then have something else produced on the day of testimony. Your Honor, we are going to request that the court order that we have the tower list used by Detective Mallory and access to the CAST-VIZ program. So
okay, so this says, is this talking about President Green? Green writes on page 355, this is from his book, the U of I administrative, teams worked to get MPD the information needed to conduct the investigation, prepared talking points for press conferences, and responded to media requests for information and interview with university personnel in limited cases. He goes on to say the university was in daily contact with the lead police agency investigating the quadruple murder, Moscow Police Department. The lead investigator on the case had only been a police officer for 2 years and had zero homicide investigation experience. MPD and the U of I held daily briefings with each other, but Blaine Eccles, Dean of Students, emphasized that the U of I had no insider information about the status of the investigation or leads on who committed the crime. Well, that's odd when you're having daily. What are they getting briefed about?
Our expert, Mr. Cy Ray, can go through and see what Detective Mallory did. That it's imperative that we be allowed to do that. That's the only way to recreate what Detective Mallory did.
It seems to me he did acknowledge that he just went back and provided just a day or 2 days before he testified that he found this additional information. So I'm thinking that the state got that information and had provided that to you.
Okay. The headline on this one is, as police in Idaho faced mounting criticism, investigators worked meticulously behind the scenes to nab a suspect. This is a CNN article. In the weeks after 4 University of students were found stabbed to death in a home near campus, police faced mounting criticism from the public as the investigation appeared to be at a standstill. In fact, court documents show a team of local and state law enforcement officers, along with a slew of FBI agents, were working meticulously through the holiday season to catch the alleged killer. Weeks before making an arrest, on December 30th, investigators began setting their sights on Bryan Kohberger. Weeks, you guys, weeks. A 28-year-old PhD student in criminology at a nearby university who had been charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of burglary. I bristled in the days after the arrest when people questioned whether police had the right man because a PhD candidate in criminal justice would be too smart for this. Let's see if it goes on.
Now, we also heard a lot of the quotes missing pieces today, which I'm guessing that FBI, Mr. Valance and Detective Mallory are going to go back through that and see if there's something else. At this point, I'm assuming that, some things may have fallen through the cracks. It is very complicated. There was a lot going on. We have some time before a trial. I just hope that everybody goes through their computers or their files or whatever they're going through so that it's complete. So what I've been watching over the last 2 months is that there have been supplemental responses to the defense. So things were coming in. They were waiting for information to come in so that they could provide that to you. So that's why I don't want to go backwards either. I just want to make sure that we are addressing what you don't have and what actually you're entitled to. So that's the tower list. I mean, I don't know anything about tower lists, so I'm learning about that. I don't know that Detective Mallory addressed that, really, unless I missed that.
Your Honor, he testified last week that he used the tower list that was contained in the AT&T record that he received. You heard today that that doesn't exist. And you heard today that the tower list was something different that he used, and that tower list had one side.
All right. John Walsh, victims' rights advocate and host of Investigation Discoveries in Pursuit with John Walsh, tells Anderson Cooper why he believes law enforcement's hunt for a white Nissan in connection to the murders of 4 students in Idaho could be a red herring. I never knew that he spoke on that. That's interesting.
Was entered, there was a selection on the program to do tower density as well.
Like I said, it's confusing.
It is. It definitely is.
We'll keep going at it.
Okay, thank you.
You want the tower list?
Yes, I think I'm getting there, but I definitely want that. I want the one.
Okay. I also want to clarify at this point. So again, Lucy, check me. So they're openly willing to discuss Cast Viz on the stand. And that chart that Lucy keeps showing shows for Cast Viz, you're just putting in call detail records and tower information into that program. So they're willing to own up to that, right? We used that. Let me know if I'm right. And Taylor keeps pressing the point about timing advance records. And I believe it's because that's, way better data, right? It's going to be way better data. She knows that the FBI can get that without a warrant. Lucy keeps making that perfectly clear in the chat that allegedly, I'm just going to use those words, you guys. Agent Balance from the FBI would have allegedly been able to access that information even without a warrant. Okay. But the prosecution is saying we didn't use that. We didn't use that. We didn't have it. We didn't use it. Also, last week when we watched the beginning part of this video, when Mowry and Payne were testifying on the stand, they were talking about what they did for their computer work when they went into the CAST program and the files that they saw. There was a full file and there was, what was the other one called? 48-hour file, something like that. Mowry said he could not get into the full file. And last week we learned the reason was, I believe he was implying that he had used an updated version. Okay. In my opinion, I think that full file, this is just my theory, probably holds some of this timing advance data. That's what it looks like to me. I don't know if that's possible or anything like that, but there's a reason why. I think there's a reason why they couldn't get into it, right? All right, let's see what this says on the screen right here. Any cast viz session logs pertaining to the phone number blank. They appear to be 2 zip files containing what appear to be cast viz session files. So this is saying the files were there. I also located the following files with the session data files. I located emails from FBI Special Agent Nick Balance providing me with the files above. I'm trying to open these session files in CastViz to verify them. I received an error message. Oh, this is what I was just talking about. It showed the version of CastViz used to create them was 28.0. Balance informed me I would not be able to open a previous version session file 28 in a newer version of the software 30. And then in examining the drawings in the JSON file, I could reference to 1122 King Road and blank, blank, Pullman, Washington. Out of the abundance of caution, I placed these files into a folder named CastViz. I then located the folder in which the data I used for the CastViz session. Okay. No session file. Okay. I saved screenshots for the exhibits. No session files were located. The screenshots created had a date of April 19th, 2023. Out of the abundance of caution, I placed these. I already read that. So that is from Mowry. So that's all of Mowry's testimony. I know there were people in the chat that said you could, like his explanation of using a newer version would stop you from using an older version. To me, I always thought if you update, you can still open previous things. I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me, but
that Mallory used to do his CAS biz work back in May of last year. That's the one I really want right now, at least at this juncture in the documents right now. I do want to clear up though, when we talk about what Detective Mallory found last week when he was preparing to testify, those are emails between him and Nick Balance. Those are JSON files from Nick Balance to Detective Mallory. None of those things that he found, other than screenshots, like the exhibit that you have of his map with the different sized towers depicted, other than those screenshots, the other things he had came from Nick Balance. Those were not his logs that he found. Those were not his towers that he found, just to be sure that those are still missing to the extent they exist. And we can't recreate what he did without the list and project.
Even if the person that made the statement on the team knows that that statement going into the affidavit, the group affidavit, if you will, or the group statement is going to ultimately make its way to the magistrate?
I'll concede I think there's an issue there. But that's not what happened.
Wait a minute. What did he ask her? Let's listen to that again.
But that's not what happened.
Want right now, at least at this juncture in the documents right now. I do want to clear up though, when we talk about what Detective Mallory found last week when he was preparing to testify, those are emails between him and Nick Balance. Those are JSON files from Nick Balance to Detective Mallory. None of those things that he found, other than screenshots, like the exhibit that you have of his map with the different sized towers depicted, other than those screenshots, the other things he had came from Nick Balance.
Okay. So she's talking about, I believe, the grand jury, right? She's trying to figure out what evidence was used. Make sure I'm unmuted. For the grand jury. And this says, which means that whatever files that Mallory used to make this visualization for the grand jury, what he presented to the grand jury, the defense was still at this point unable to check this work. Okay. And then I really want to focus on what the judge asks Ashley Jennings here, because she seems to really pause.
Those were not his logs that he found. Those were not his towers that he found, just to be sure that those are still missing to the extent they exist. And we can't recreate what he did without the list and project.
Even if the person that made the statement on the team knows that that statement going into the affidavit, the group affidavit, if you will, or the group statement is going to ultimately make its way to the magistrate?
I'll concede I think there's an issue there. But that's not what happened.
Okay. He's saying, I never caught this before. Can you guys hear me okay? You couldn't hear the video? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? You can hear me. Could you hear the video? Oh, the sound is good. Okay. All right. Thank you. Lori, everybody else says they can hear, so I don't know. I'm not sure. Check on your end. Thank you guys. Okay. I never realized or picked up on this before because it's, 2 seconds of this video. So the judge seems to be asking Ashley Jennings, like, if this information makes its way to the magistrate, to the judge, I don't know how he worded it before that, but basically like, there's a problem. There's going to be a problem here. And she said, yeah, yes, there's a problem, or however she said it. She's kind of having that, oh, you know what moment, right? But then she's just going to say, well, that's not what happened. But that's not what happened, because they're just going to explain it away. But I think this moment right here, is this the moment? I know there's other moments where Cy Ray says the wheels fell off the bus or whatever, but
Moving on.
Thank you.
Moving on then, Your Honor, is item 226. That's called the Hemisphere Program, also known as a timing advance rule.
all right, I saw a lot of you mentioning the Hemisphere program in chat. So this is protecting the program. All requesters are instructed to never refer to Hemisphere in any official document. If there is no alternative to referencing a Hemisphere request, then the results should be referenced as information obtained from an AT&T subpoena. All right, there's the instructions.
Your Honor, this is one of the troubling areas again. The first response was that the records do not exist. There were letters exchanged between the state and us asking for more information.
Okay, what is Hemisphere? The Hemisphere Project is a law enforcement sensitive subpoena compliance program funded by the HIDTA or ONDCP. The linchpin of the program is a telecom proprietary database that contains call detail records available in a real-time basis. Okay, that's like almost like wiretapping, right? If it's real-time basis. Experienced Hemisphere analysts are able to use current and something tools that aid law enforcement in interpreting, disseminating, and analyzing phone records. An administrative subpoena is all that is needed to obtain Hemisphere results and work products. And I want to hear what Ann Taylor is saying right here, because this is good. She's saying, here's all the excuses they gave us.
The team knows that that statement going into the affidavit, the group affidavit, if you will, or the group statement is going to ultimately make its way to the magistrate.
She just
I'll
took a big
concede, I
gulp.
think there's an issue there,
Big gulp.
but that's not what happened.
Moving on.
Thank you.
Moving on then, Your Honor, is item 226. That's called the Hemisphere Program, also known as a timing advance rule. Your Honor, this is one of the troubling areas again. The first response was that the records do not exist. There were letters exchanged between the state and us asking for more information. In one of the letters from the prosecutor, we were told that this program was not used in Bryan Kohberger's case. And then we filed a motion to compel, and we were told that the state was not in possession of the timing records. And then the next supplemental response in May of this year, just a couple of weeks ago, was to tell us that there's some new certified records from AT&T that we're going to get. I don't know what those are.
Okay, so she was just saying they kept telling us we don't have it, we don't have it, we don't have it. And now all of a sudden, because the defense keeps asking for it with these supplemental requests, now there's some new information, but she still didn't know what it was going to be. So this is AT&T extended warrant from April 13th, 2023. Make sure you guys can hear me. Okay. Hello, Miss Potts. Saw you in here. Hi, Gilly. Hi, Ashley's Activism. On March 29th, 2023, I applied for a warrant for the call detail records for Maddie Mogan and Xana Kernodle between the time period of June 23rd, 2022 to August 1st, 2022. All right, there's those dates. Way before November, outside of 7 days of November 13th. A previous warrant requested the data range August 1st to present. I requested both historical records and real-time provisional records in order to determine if Kohberger had any interactions with the victims leading up to the November 13th, 2022 crime. On March 30th, 2023, the warrant was granted. On April 3rd, 2023, At 9:12 hours, the warrant was served. On April 12th, 2023, I received an email from AT&T with the data requested. All right. I downloaded the files to the forensic computers. A copy of the data was provided to the FBI CAST team for analysis. So they're getting it and giving it to the FBI CAST team. I'm a little confused about that. A warrant return receipt, okay, and affidavit were completed, and these documents were sent to the Latah County Prosecutor's Office to be returned to the court. A copy of the receipt was sent to AT&T Global Legal Demand Center, as this was the originating email address associated with the documents. Is this only talking about what type of data? Call detail records. Okay, so they're openly, because they're allowed, the prosecution's allowed to write a warrant for the call detail records. I'm just looking at your comments real quick. All right.
I can tell you that these timing advance reports were asked for from AT&T, from Verizon, from T-Mobile, and another cell phone company. In both of the early AT&T warrants, we called them the 48-hour, and then the extended warrants back on December 23rd, 2022. We don't have those. So I just want to make a record that I need to know what happens.
Okay, Lucy, I saw your comment saying they are not, 100% are not. That's what Mallory's making it seem like. Just clarify that a little bit more. I said in the page previous that I just read, it looked like they were just getting the call detail records. You're saying that's what they made it seem like. If I'm not correct, correct me. Right, Miss Potts. The FBI doesn't need them for anything. The FBI is going to do what the FBI is going to do, right? They're higher up on the food chain with access, right? They're not going to be going to a local police department to help them access anything, right? That's just common sense. So this says, remember that Anne is talking about these new certified AT&T records from April of 2023 in relation to item number 226. And I believe we're going to be looking at that.
Moving on then to 228, item.
Okay. Item 226. Timing Advance Hemisphere Program. And this is going to come up again later.
228. That was trying to understand what was relied upon for the second AT&T warrant. And we heard quite a bit today from Detective Payne about what he relied on for that second warrant. And that had to do with what was produced and analyzed in the first warrant.
Okay. Law enforcement has taken pains to ensure that Hemisphere evades public scrutiny. In fact, as government presentations on the program have made clear, investigators regularly take steps in the name of protecting the program to keep the program under the radar. Most critically, program officials instruct law enforcement to never refer to Hemisphere in any official document. Instead, law enforcement hides Hemisphere through a practice called parallel subpoenaing. What that means is once police get results back from Hemisphere, they add another subpoena, this time directly to the suspect's phone provider to obtain the records for the new phone numbers identified by Hemisphere. So you guys got that? The FBI will use Hemisphere first, get that result back, and then hide it with a second subpoena, just getting the records for the for the suspect's phone provider. The police are then careful to only reference this second request for records in their investigative reports, search warrant affidavits, and court testimony. Through this process, the original results returned by Hemisphere and the process for obtaining them are walled off from judges, criminal defendants, and the public. There you go. That's how they do it. Yeah, parallel subpoenaing. Say that 10 times fast.
However, we asked for some emails and some communications. We know about some text messaging that we've received, but we don't have written correspondence, email correspondence, exchanging information, just the text messaging. So we want all of the email communication between Payne and Balance, or between anybody from Moscow PD and anybody from the FBI group. Your Honor, item 229 is the MAID data. I would say we received a disclosure, and I think we got.
Okay, agencies, in quotes, subpoena generating requests, point of contact, supervises. So the agencies generate the requests, that's the subpoena. The point of contact supervises. The Hemisphere program requests, the FBI. There's an operational technology division in the FBI. There's a counterintelligence division in the FBI. There's an engineering research facility in the FBI. And there's an engineering research facility building, 27958A. Hope I read all that correct. You know, can you guys imagine? Thank God Ann Taylor had Cy to help her with all of this. And last week I showed clips of Cy's own podcast where he talked about his experience in Colorado with his technology getting questioned by a judge. And he was saying back then, hi, Kane, good to see you. He was saying back then that if he ever got involved in another case, he would make sure that he understood the case. Like he understood the investigation and the evidence and all of that, because he's been snookered by being asked to testify to the prosecution a couple times. And ultimately the evidence didn't stand up for the point they were trying to make. Okay. Also, he said he would make sure that he worked with the defense more to like educate them. And so I can see that he really did that with Ann Taylor, like tried to prep her as much as possible to be able to speak to these things. And my point is, imagine the, I don't know, I keep wanting to call it like a mystery or an they had to do this own little investigation on their own, because I'm sure Cy was seeing evidence that he knows what it means and what it really is, because the prosecution's trying to like cover what they did with these other files and the way that they name and label things, right? Because the FBI secret way is walled off. They have walled it off with files, and I don't know all the words to use, but I think Cy would be able to see that and know it, and then send Ann Taylor on the hunt to start picking at it so that they can get through that wall. It's like they're trying to get through that wall. Right? You can critique me in the chat, Lucy, and correct me. I take compliments and criticism from Lucy going over her material.
That on either 510 or 517. And I'm going to need some time to have an expert help me out with that. I don't know if that's complete. I also know that in the fifth motion to compel, there is information we asked for from Babel. That was
Okay, these are those agencies that she just put up. These are just all the receipts we need. Like, the agencies are out there. Lucy has found them and what they do and how they manage and work this system, right? So I think the first one was the OTD. Yeah, the Operational Technology Division. Okay, so there's a paper up here. Like, look at that flow chart. Look at that flow chart. There's the assistant director, and then they oversee 2 people or 2 departments. And then the second in command has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people or departments under them. So big flow chart there. And then the ERF. Let's see what that
the
is.
program that was used to help decipher some of the MAID data. And we're going to talk about that in a minute, but that one's yet to come. So I'm going to ask the
So she's got some stuff highlighted here. The blank serves as a, oh, I need to make this a little bit bigger so I can read it. Okay. Is my sound okay still? All right. All right. The blank. This is from February 3rd, 2010, and it's a briefing for the National Security Higher Education Advisory Board. The blank serves as a centralized focal point for the coordination and the collection of intelligence and evidence through the design, construction, and fabrication of unique garments, concealments, disguises, and prototype electrical and mechanical systems. Within blank provides covert capabilities in support of investigative and intelligence collection operations. The blank is responsible for a variety of FBI electronic surveillance capabilities. Their primary mission is to develop and deploy classified technical exploitation and, in red, let's this word in red, interception capabilities and techniques that target information technologies in support of counterintelligence division and counterterrorism division special projects. All right, I can't read that smaller one. We got the gist. One second. I'm not muted. Let me see if this shows up. There we go.
for an order compelling the state to give me all the MAID data. They may have already complied. So, and their intent to comply, I can tell you that.
What does that stand for again?
Mobile advertiser. Let's see, I got it in here.
Okay, I'm glad.
Identification number. Mobile advertiser identification number.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Don't get caught up in thinking 7 minutes don't matter here.
All right, Judge, we are now talking about item 242, the CAST report. The history of this is we came to the court asking for the CAST report, knowing it was relied upon last year, and the court ordered that we receive it. We received one that was stamped draft all over it.
These pages are referencing the engineering research facility. ERF is controlled by the use of security guards, visitor badges, and visitor logs. It's just the engineering research facility. Okay. Title 3 version. Versus Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. And that's, okay, there's FISA. Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act is FISA.
You've heard testimony about that today from Mr. Ray, and it's not a final report. And we knew that when we got it. We asked for that. We asked for the analysis behind that, and we haven't received that. We were
Okay. The DC 8, is that an 8 or an S? 3000 system is deployed in central monitoring plants located in FBI field offices and at the FBI Engineering Research Facility. That's the ERF. Access to the field office buildings and the ERF is controlled by the use of security. Oh, that's the guards. I think this is what I just read. Okay, that's what I just read.
told on February 23rd of this year that the state will provide this by March 31st. Well, March 31st came and went, and we did not get it. So on April 23rd, the state said we still don't have it. And then on May the 10th, the state responded to this request and said that because we provided additional information, Mr. Kohberger's alibi, they need more time to do work on this CAS report and they'll get it.
You hear what Ann Taylor's saying? Like, and the state did this the whole time too. They waited for Ann Taylor to have to like put information out there. She's like, we just provided information about his alibi. And now they say, oh, we have to go back and we have to check our work. Right. So that makes it seem like allegedly seems like, you know, we're going to tweak some things before we hand stuff over. All right. We're pointing to an address here. Federal Bureau of Investigations, FRE building, Quantico, Virginia. And this is checked off with call detail records, cell site location, subscriber information. All those are checked off at the bottom.
To us later.
I'll concede, I think there's an issue there.
Hi, CAO Kane.
You're right. I think you ought to order that we get the CAS report. And I think you ought to order that we get everything that went into developing this and we get the analysis that they made from that. This is particularly troubling. Their response, you told us something, so now we have to go reconfigure the CAS report. Let me tell you why that's troubling. Item 243 is our request. Give us a list of everything Nick Balance relied on when drafting his CAS report. And we were told Nick Balance relied on the call detail records from AT&T. Nick Balance relied upon tower records, and he relied upon.
All right. 702 databases collect it all. And that's under FISA, Title I, Title II, Title III, Title IV, Title V, when a target is a U.S. citizen inside the U.S.
The drive test data. Nowhere in there does it say, if you tell us anything about the case, we need that to rely on that too.
I'll concede, I think there's an issue there.
Okay, here's an excerpt from probably a court document, the AT&T phone records from Mr. Kohberger, Maddie Mogan, and Xana Kernodle, AV00228. Mr. Kohberger notes that these records are one copy of several copies obtained during the course of the case. This folder also contains records relating to someone else. The state has not provided any specifics related to what it intends to rely on or use as evidence, nor a certificate that the records was made and kept in the course of a regularly conducted business activity. And if it was the regular practice of that business to make the report or record, Mr. Kohberger seeks exclusion of these records based on the state's incomplete expert disclosures. This should not be an allowed method of circumventing those failures.
But that's not what happened.
These are records that exist. These are tower lists that exist. They go into a program. You do drive testing to understand how the device interacts with towers, and you create a report. So we're asking the court to order that we get the CAS draft report, we get the full list of everything he relied upon, and we get the analysis of what does this mean.
So another clarifying question, maybe.
All right, here's the U.S. codes and the orders, right? We're just collecting receipts in this video, all over this video. There's Title 18, different codes for that. The definition of electronic communication provider, the Electronic Communication Privacy Act, the voluntary disclosure by provider of information records pursuant to an exigent request, emergency pen register trap and trace installation, electronic communications, pen registers, wire communication, electronic communication service, and contents, production or disclosure in federal or state proceedings regarding law enforcement information, court orders or search warrants for historical call detail and cell site, refer to the AUSA for the most current court requirement, court order hybrid order for pen register to also get historical records may require a search warrant. And then the policies. The best policy is to discuss with your local AUSA and determine what method, 2703D or search warrant, should be used in order to acquire the records from the cell phone company.
So I listened to the testimony today, and that it sounded like a CAS report was provided, but maybe it wasn't complete. It's what Mr. Ray suggested. But I think that what
Coming over, Kane.
I guess maybe I'm guessing or assuming that the state provided what they had, but it maybe they're still working on it. I don't know. But didn't you get initially what they had as they characterized as the CAS report?
Exigent request. Oh, good. I always wondered what that meant. There's two types of exigent requests: voluntary disclosures and compelling a provider to provide records due to exigent circumstances. The following explains both of these methods of obtaining exigency-based records. So there's voluntary disclosure of records, commonly referred to as exigent requests. Okay, a provider described in subsection A may divulge a record or other information pertaining to a subscriber or to a customer of such service to a government entity if the provider, in good faith, believes that an emergency involving danger of death or serious physical injury to any person requires disclosures without delay of information relating to the emergency. Okay, so that's that like exigent, like it's urgent, life or death situation. Then there's compelling an exigent response. The pen register statutes emergency provision allows for compelling records from a provider. It requires approval at the Deputy Assistant Attorney General level or above, which was probably in that chart that we were looking at of who was above who. So the Assistant Attorney General or above, isn't that what Hurwitz used to do? Did I say his name right? Hurwitz. How do you say his name? Wasn't he an attorney general or assistant attorney general? That's interesting, you guys. That's a light bulb going off for me. Which is coordinated through the Department of Justice, Office of Enforcement Operations. It also requires a follow-up court order. Section 3125 is occasionally used, but not often, as investigators can often obtain a pen register order more easily than complying with 3125's requirements. Kane, you're cracking me up. Lucy, are you still in here? Meg, are you still in here? He was a federal prosecutor, but I also thought he did something with an attorney general's office. That's interesting because we keep speculating why was Hurwitz brought in? Maybe.
So when you say, I mean, we have problems with language, I think, especially when we're in this area of technology. And so we might be just going back and forth like this without really understanding what we're asking for or what we're providing.
Let me see if I can clear that up. The testimony today, when we had Detective Payne on the stand, when we talked about what did you
Am I frozen, you guys? Am I frozen? Thanks, Leslie. I thought so. That's interesting. That's very interesting. You know, and was he doing it behind the scenes, Hurwitz, I'm talking about? And then all of a sudden he's like, okay, I'm coming out. Not frozen. Thank you. I'm just dancing up here.
rely on to get the second AT&T warrant? He said that there was something that Nick Valance produced and that the prosecutor had it, and he thought it was a cast draft. And then you heard from Mr. Ray, who said, I've seen the cast draft report, and maybe it's something different that
Okay, I'm going to rewind just a couple seconds because I want to hear the words out of Ann Taylor's mouth right now. What is she saying? Let's listen to this.
he provided additional information, Mr. Kohberger's alibi. So on April 23rd, the state said we still don't have it. And then on May the 10th, the state responded to this request and said that because we provided additional information, Mr. Kohberger's alibi, they need more time to do work on this cast report and they'll get it to us later.
I'll concede, I think there's an issue there.
You're right. I think you ought to order that we get the cast report. And I think you ought to order that we get everything that went into developing this and we get the analysis that they made from that. This is particularly troubling. Their response, you told us something, so now we have to go reconfigure the cast report. Let me tell you why that's troubling. Item 243 is our request. Give us a list of everything Nick Valance relied on when drafting his cast report. And we were told Nick Valance relied on the call detail records from AT&T. Nick Valance relied upon tower records, and he relied upon the drive test data. Nowhere in there does it say, if you tell us anything about the case, we need that to rely on it too.
I'll concede, I think there's an issue there. But that's not what happened.
These are records that exist. These are tower lists that exist. They go into a program. You do drive testing to understand how the device interacts with towers, and you create a report. So we're asking the court to order that we get the cast draft report. We get the full list of everything he relied upon, and we get the analysis of what does this mean.
So another clarifying question maybe. So I listened to the testimony today and that it sounded like a cast report was provided, but maybe it wasn't complete. It's what Mr. Ray suggested. But I think that maybe I'm guessing, or assuming that the state provided what they had, but maybe they're still working on it. I don't know. But didn't you get initially what they had as they characterized as the cast report? So what would you say? I mean, we have problems with language, I think, especially when we're in this area of technology. And so we might be just going back and forth like this without really understanding what we're asking for or what we're providing.
Let me see if I can clear that up. The testimony today, when we had Detective Payne on the stand, when we talked about what did you rely on to get the second AT&T warrant, he said that there was something that Nick Valance produced and that the prosecutor had it, and he thought it was a cast draft. And then you heard from Mr. Ray, who said, I've seen the cast draft report, and maybe it's something different that Detective Payne looked at. It wasn't this big long cast draft. The cast draft report, and I'm calling it draft because it's stamped draft. I knew it wasn't final when I received it. We got that because you ordered that the state give that to us last July. So I had this draft. I knew it wasn't final. Ms. Jennings knew it wasn't final. We've talked about it. We believed that we were going to get the final report by March 31st. We don't have that yet. It's the final report that we need. You also heard from Mr. Ray talking about the things that are mistakes in the cast draft report. These reports go through a peer review process and they can look a little different when they come back out on the other side. Usually not vastly different, but they can. They go through their process. It's that final product that I need that. I need to know everything they relied on to do their work. I need to know what this draft report is going to look like. The court should know that when we get to trial, likely Agent Valance is going to come in and talk about his cast draft report. He's going to be an expert in the field and talk about what he found and why he found and what he relied on to do that. I'm going to come in with an expert that's going to explain what his work did. Now, if the work aligns and Nicholas Valance and our expert aligns, well, that's just going to be shorter. But right now, it's definitely not looking good. It looks like they're going to have their side and we're going to be talking about what the data shows.
We differ on a few facts.
All right. So Ann Taylor only ever got the draft report up because that March 31st deadline came and went, right? I am just blown away by how the prosecution can stand up at the podium and really it's really hesitant and explanatory, like giving excuses almost, in my opinion. And the judge just lets it go. Like the judge is all over the defense all the time, making them prove every little thing and answer a million questions that the judge has for them. But when it comes to the prosecution, they can say one sentence as a reason and that's it. That it's, accepted and done.
Actual issues.
So what I want is the final report that we were told would be available by March 31st. I need time to work on it.
Sure.
What I want is a full list of what was used to create that report, what was relied on. I have to be able to see if I can recreate that. I have to see what was right with it and what was wrong with it. So I don't have those two things, right?
Is it possible that it's just not completed?
It is possible.
A final report?
It is possible, but I need you to order that come to me. And I don't think Ms. Jennings doesn't want to give it to me. But if you order that I get it, then I'm going to get it a lot sooner, I think. I'm not saying that Ms. Jennings is sitting holding it behind her back. I'm saying I don't now know what's going on. The FBI told her it was going to be in by March 31st. We hit our deadline to disclose our alibi.
I love that comment. Ann Taylor might not be saying that, but I am. These are the moments where I think a lot of you might agree. We think Ann Taylor might have been too nice, too lenient, like always giving the prosecution an out. Like, well, I don't think they're doing this, and I'm sure I'm going to get it eventually. I don't know. These are the moments where I think a little bit more hardball action from Ann Taylor would have definitely was warranted.
And all of a sudden now they need to redo something in the report, which shocks me because of the things they said that they relied on were things that already existed.
Here's my concern with you telling me that at this stage of things. Where in the record is that currently?
So now I really need to know what they're relying on to do this report, and I really need to see the analysis, and I really need to see the final report.
Sure.
I have to react to it.
Since we're talking about this, Ms. Jennings, do you want to just respond to that?
Okay, Lucy, I was saying it wrong, but I caught what you were throwing down. So I knew that Josh Hurwitz fit into that somehow, some way. I was saying Attorney General, but you're saying the AUSA, right? So, and isn't it interesting that they brought him out into the open? Do you think that's curious that they had him sitting behind the table? Yeah. Okay. So Cy Ray puts out his affidavit and then he comes out. I still think, woof. I don't think I didn't realize at the time what was really going on in this hearing. This is fascinating and eye-opening.
Whether or not this is still a work in progress or what's going on?
Hi, Your Honor. As I know right now, that report is not in its final form, and it has gone through a peer review process. My understanding is it's still in that. I have been told that yes, it's not a matter of redoing anything, but as they receive additional information, they just want to double check their work. They want to make sure that when they get the final report, it's accurate.
That's the part that gets me is these Kohbergers that are just brain dead. Like, he doesn't have an alibi. You know how many times Ann has begged him to give her an alibi? He won't give it because he doesn't have one. And he's never going to have one. The dude.
Okay. So Steve's talking about, BK won't give an alibi, whatever. So the state wants to adjust the CastViz work product before providing the CastViz final report to the defense. I mean, that's what Ann Taylor was claiming because they weren't giving it over. So after demanding Kohberger provides his alibi, the state wants to fine-tune their accusation. Do they not have the proof that he was at 1122, that he is the guy, right? Because why would it matter where Bryan said he was if they already know where he was and they can prove their point? Why are they worried about where he says he was?
It's that simple.
So we are still waiting for that final report to ensure that it's accurate. And as soon as we receive it,
Sorry. Do you have a time frame for that? I told you when they expect to be finished.
I don't have a final time frame. They originally told us it was projected to be completed by June next month. So I'm hoping to get it within the next month. Multiple completely false narratives are the exact reason why. And I'll try to make this quick. I'll kind of go through each of these items that are still out there for discussion. But just to give you a little bit of perspective of what all has been provided to date.
Oh, she's going to give perspective, you guys. She's going to give perspective. All right.
Simple. Today, we've given 15,691 bait stamped pages of discovery. So for a little context, this is too much binder. It would be about 39 of these. We've given 13,758 bait stamped photographs. That's
like she's talking about all this data. It's not the quantity, okay? Like, you know, nobody's stupid in that courtroom. We're not stupid listening. It's not about the quantity. Oh, we've given so much data. It's what you've given, right? We know that. It's what you've given or not given.
34 of those binders of photographs. We've given 911 AV dumps. Those are digital files. In addition to a massive hard drive, about 50 terabytes full of discovery. And that includes audio video from about 285 interviews, 15,000 video clips from approximately 79 businesses.
Okay, so this is, I think this was the, oh geez, I had it pulled up earlier. Was it the state's response to motion to compel discovery, I believe. And this is what she's talking about.
1,000 video clips from approximately 10 residences, 417 files containing call detail records, multiple terabytes of records for 11 computer devices, 17 cell phones, multiple social media accounts, and 4 tower dumps. This changed 4 tower dumps. In addition to records regarding well over 17,000 tips. We've given multiple terabytes of records in response to the 71 grand jury subpoenas, as well as the 101 search warrants that were done in this case. We have facilitated the defense viewing the physical evidence on multiple occasions, as well as facilitated additional DNA trace evidence to be examined.
Okay, a year earlier, Jennings lists all the things that the state has provided. June of 2023, May 2024, and she does it again in 2025. So that's what I was saying. Here's all the things we've given.
We've had a consistent pattern of loading up discovery and providing a hard drive to the defense on an almost weekly basis. And just to be clear, we're going to continue to do that. As we receive discovery, we review it, we load it on our hard drive, and we give it over. Now, going specifically through each of the requests, we've already dealt with in the 4th motion to compel. Item 214, we've already argued. Item 219, we've already complied with.
Okay, this is the CAST mission and structure, the mission of the Cellular Analyst Survey Team. That's what CAST is, Cellular Analysis Survey Team program, is to support FBI along with the state, local, and tribal investigations through the analysis of cellular call detail records and their associated tower information. Their priorities: an immediate threat to life, FBI priorities to include national security, criminal, and cyber, assistance to state, local, and other federal agencies. The structure is that the CAST program is managed by the CAST unit within the operational support section of the Criminal Investigation Division, with 5 headquarter SSAs and 15 national assets. That's interesting. National assets, who are CID assigned special agents embedded within selected field offices. The program also has over 50 CAST certified field assets who provide CAST analysis within their respective field offices.
The CAST is logs. We heard the testimony, and what we know and what the judge heard testimony for is that CAST is just a software program that allows investigators to put in like the records received from a cell phone provider like AT&T into a software program.
Hemisphere, yeah, I see your comment. So you're on the right path. I don't think they were trying to get the FBI to do that. I think that's what happened. Like they went this backdoor way, and then they wall it off in secrecy, and they don't show that that's how they did it. But that's how they got the information. That's how they do it. Okay, the CAST national and field asset responsibilities. They obtain and analyze cellular communication data, historical CDR analysis and geospatial mapping, tower dump analysis and comparisons to establish links between significant locations, persons, and cellular tower data, drive tests aid in verifying and measuring the actual coverage area of a cell tower, target acquisition through the analysis of CDRs, facilitates the deployment of a wireless identification and direction finding team. Expert witness testimony in support of cellular analysis. So those are all the things they do.
And they kind of visualize. Detective Mallory testified he got the raw data set from AT&T, used the default settings for the times in question. It produced a map. He took a screenshot of that map. We provided that screenshot. He only did this in response to our request to provide a visual for the grand jury. We've been told that optional session files were not created or saved, and that this item simply doesn't exist. In the current version of CAST-Viz, the user settings aren't automatically saved in an exported session, but instead it just returns to default settings. I asked Detective Mallory about this. He advised us that he used the default settings. It doesn't take much time or effort to redo this, which is why he didn't save those logs. That's his normal practice. He just saved the screenshots, and we provided that.
Okay. So this is a contradiction, right? Oxymoron, contradiction, because Mallory's saying, I just went in, I did this, this, and this, and I didn't have to save it because it doesn't take me much time and not much effort, and you can easily go back in and recreate it, right? That's what he testified to. The FBI CAST-Viz experts have not managed to produce the final report in over 500 days. And the reason she's saying is they need more time to double check their work. Right? So that's kind of, you could look at it as contradictory information, right?
We agree. We will double check. We're doing that throughout all of this. To our knowledge, there are not tower documents that were relied upon, but we will double check and inquire. And if that exists, then we can turn it over.
If I had to pick a time when the wheels fell off the wagon, that's the date.
So this is really problematic to be told these varying things and then have something else produced on the day of testimony. We are going to request that for order that we have the tower list used by Detective Mallory and access to the CAST-Viz program. So our expert, Mr. Cy Ray, can go through and see what Detective Mallory did. that it's imperative that we be allowed to do that. That's the only way to recreate what Detective Nowry did.
226 has to do, well, first the request was for the AT&T Hemisphere program, and then it detailed several other things below it. And we were told they didn't use the Hemisphere program. And you're right. Like,
All right, look at the title there, you guys. And hi, RJ Anderson. I saw you join. Hello. Hemisphere, law enforcement's secret call records deal with AT&T. Here we go. For almost 10 years, federal and local law enforcement agencies across the country have engaged in a massive and secretive telephone surveillance program known as Hemisphere, publicly disclosed for the first time in September of 2013 by the New York Times. The Hemisphere program provides police access to a database containing call records going back decades, combined with a sophisticated analytical system. The program involves a private-public partnership with AT&T.
which is important as to exactly what's being requested. And now after a series of back and forth, they're saying that they want AT&T timing report. We have been told if that's referring to timing advance records, those records don't exist. We do have these location records, the DVOR records.
Okay, this is important here. So this is what's showing that they have it.
Can go through and see what Detective Nowry did. That it's imperative that we be allowed to do that. That's the only way to recreate what Detective Nowry did.
226 has to do.
Okay, it's on there for so short. Let me get it right there.
We do have the.
Okay. So a previous warrant requested the data range. Okay. So, right. We looked at this already. We already looked at this document from April 13th, 23, requesting the information. All right. Now look.
These location records,
there you go. There's the files. Okay. They were last modified on this screenshot, April 1st, 2024. There's timing. There's 3 Excel. Wait a minute. There's 4. They look like Excel files, timing advance. And then there's one that's the locked bar, however you say that. So they received it. There's right there. The file.
DVOR records, and we've given those over. Now, the second part, it says that investigators recently obtained certified records from AT&T, and that'll be disclosed in upcoming discovery production. My understanding is that that's not related to the above. It's not related to Bryan Kohberger's records. It's related to other records that were done later for other folks. But we will be providing that in the next production doc.
Thank you.
Here's another reason.
Your Honor, just really briefly. I want to talk about item 226, the Hemisphere program.
All right, here we go. 226.
What I've learned in working with Mr. Ray is that obtaining timing advance records now goes through.
Okay. The state has been advised and will offer documentation and or testimony that AT&T records are produced by their Global Legal Demand Center. AT&T GLDC did not begin producing timing advanced records until May of 2023. All records for defendant's phone were obtained from GLDC in December 2022. And they are saying that the defense is giving a mischaracterization of the evidence.
Different process than it went before. FBI agents had a means to get these timing advance records before they were generally available to all of law enforcement. Generally available now comes through the GLDC program, and that happened in 2023.
But he's not indicated he has any evidence that, at least for this time of the murder, that those would still be in existence.
We've never heard.
See, everything that's up here is true, but it's irrelevant because the defense, and this is what they're hiding behind. I mean, the state is hiding behind Well, AT&T didn't produce this stuff until June of 2023, so we could not have gotten it. That's the legal way. What they're saying is true, but that's not the only way. So they're not even talking about that the FBI can just go get it without a warrant. This is how they wall it off. I like that phrase. They wall it off. This is the objection to the state's motion in limine. Records were not produced by AT&T until May of 2023. The state is misleading the court in its motion by what it leaves out. So it's by omission, you guys. It's by omission. Right? Can you lie by omission? What the state, I can't see under that arrow, is that the timing advanced records, what the state is not providing or not showing is that the timing advance records existed in AT&T in November and December of 2022. So they did exist. The state has to know this to be true because in April of 2024, the state produced the actual records from AT&T for cell towers and individual timing advance records for 2 of the 4 deceased and 1 for a person who had been a person of interest in the beginning of the investigation. And I think that's Jack DeCore. So you can't be the prosecution and say it doesn't exist, but then turn around later and provide it for someone else. That's what was happening there.
From Nick Valance, who is FBI and who has the backdoor.
From AT&T.
You've heard from AT&T that GLDC did not produce these records.
It's really frustrating that, Ann Taylor is explaining this and not getting the opportunity to explain it without being interrupted. And the judge is just, I don't see him listening to a complete thought. I guess that's just my observation. My observation is I don't see him listening to a complete thought. And so he's not hearing her point and just not letting her get it out. It's like if she can't say it, then we're not going to hear it. If I don't let her say it, then we're not going to hear it. Something like that.
Records in 2022. You've absolutely heard that from AT&T. What you haven't heard is the other way. That's
the other way. I haven't heard that either. I've heard a general description, and I've heard in the affidavit that he received some once, and they said, "Oh no, don't use those." I don't know if those were acquired within the 7 days. He doesn't address the 7 days, and that's a glaring, particularly given the inflammatory language in that accusations in that affidavit. It's a glaring omission.
Your Honor, we don't even.
Okay. So, this says AT&T was the last of the major providers in the United States to produce timing advance data for law enforcement. The first timing advance reports AT&T provided to law enforcement were the result of a software program utilized by AT&T from a third party. And that is VIA Solutions, something like that. VIA Solutions offered a software solution known as Arizo GEO. In using that software, AT&T was able to create and produce timing advanced records for law enforcement. But due to the pricing of the software, It was at a great expense. As a result, only certain law enforcement agencies were provided access to these reports. The FBI has been the primary agency given access. The timing advance reports were not common, nor were they created in the normal AT&T ecosystem. Thus, timing advance reports were not accessible to the GLDC personnel within AT&T. The FBI utilized a different legal compliance unit within AT&T to access these timing advance records. The legal compliance unit is separate from the GLDC. Okay. Timing advance records are expensive, so they're not going to make them available to every single law enforcement agency in the country. They have them, but they are expensive, so they are rare, right? The supply is limited, so only the FBI gets access. AT&T developed a new system outside of Ares GEO system. Okay. So now that AT&T sees how this software works, now they're going to produce their own, they're going to create their own software. Let's see. And it was at a fraction of the cost. That's how business works, you guys. That's how business works. You're going to use somebody else's product at a cost unless you can figure out how to do it yourself. And then, of course, that is going to save you money. The cost reduction allowed AT&T to provide these records to state and local law enforcement. As a result, GLDC was given access to timing advanced reports in May of 2023 and began providing them to state and local law enforcement in June of 2023. The distinction is that AT&T timing advance records were available to only select law enforcement, specifically the FBI, well before this internal change. So in court, they're just ignoring that timing advance data did exist at AT&T, but was only allowed to be accessed by the FBI. They're just ignoring that. The extended warrant seeking the date to be extended. Okay. Yeah. I think I'm following this. All right.
And have the 7 days worth, which is what the carrier request says. That
For the 7 days that he's back home,
maybe.
I'll ask the state about those, if they receive those. I'm not sure their search warrant covered that time frame, but.
Your Honor, I would say that it did. And I would say their first search warrant was just a 48-hour period. It asked for timing advance records. But then the second warrant,
You would agree there's no evidence that AT&T provided?
I mean, listen to him. He's not letting her get a word in edgewise. Okay. And when he said, I'm not sure the dates covered that, that's in paper. It's in a document. It's written down. Look at it. Look at it. Did it or didn't? Like, answer it right then and there. Did it or didn't it? Like, come on. Hi, Seahawks fan. Thank you. I appreciate you.
Those were still available by the time that Mr. Kohberger was identified.
You know, Lucy has made her point when the Mr. Rogers Neighborhood song comes on. Okay, so the two victims, AT&T search warrant, extended warrant, June 23rd, 2022 to August 2022, obtained March 30th, 2023, served April 3rd, 2023, returned April 12th, 2023. All right. And that's just a copy of the affidavit by Lawrence Mowry right here on the screen, saying what they did, what he did.
I agree. There's no evidence that AT&T provided those or that those were still available by the time that Mr. Kohberger was identified.
Your Honor,
An officer of the court.
as an officer of the court, I would like to ask Nick Balance that, and here's why.
Lucy, why didn't she shove these papers in front of him with all these dates? Did she not? Because she didn't have it then? Is that the whole point of this? Am I like jumping? Let's see, Hemisphere. Hippler's protecting the case to keep it from not being thrown out, but to get a plea deal or it goes to trial. That's why. Yeah, I agree with you, Hemisphere. I agree. But it's just blatantly obvious. Okay, no. Were you answering me? It was filed as an exhibit to Cyray's affidavit. Right. So didn't Hippler have it at the time? They absolutely had these. Why didn't she shove it in his face? Like right there during the court hearing. Here, Judge. Oh, so frustrating. That hearing was May, right? May 25? And these dates are April? Right there. How is there timing advance data for the period of June 23rd, 2022 to August 2022 for these phones if there is a 7-day retention period? Shouldn't have been able to get it at all.
Here's why. The things that I've learned is that the 7 days is on paper. Sometimes they go back further than other days.
What's the evidence of that, counsel?
Oh, well, this was interesting because this is what the FBI paper said. I got to read this to you guys. I got to get it right exactly. Right.
And here's why.
Okay. So this is, does it go down more? Nope. April 3rd, 2024, Cellular Analysis Survey Team CAST certified special agent balance received additional certified records from AT&T. These records will be attached to the, oh my gosh, I cannot see. They're going to be attached, and there they are. That's the next thing I want to read. Don't fall asleep to Mr. Rogers.
Here's why. The things that I've learned is that the 7 days is on paper. Sometimes they go back further than other days.
What's the evidence of that, counsel?
Okay, this is the one. Federal Unclassified Federal Bureau of Investigation, Electronic Communication. All right. This is Salt Lake City. Contact Nicholas Balance. This is about Bryan Kohberger, the case, and the synopsis to document additional certified records received from AT&T. And then there's enclosures, and there is AT&T records. And here's the details. April 3rd, 2024, Cellular Analysis Survey Team certified special agent balance received additional certified records from AT&T. Okay. And here they are. Here they are, you guys. Boom, boom. There they are. What does that say right there? Say it with me. Timing advance. Timing advance. Timing advance. Right there in a zip file.
The evidence has been in the practice that I've learned from people that I've worked
You're giving
with.
me that testimony now?
I'm not giving you testimony. I'm answering the court's question.
Okay. But you've made some serious accusations against the state of hiding evidence. And yet you've provided no factual basis, zero, that evidence existed for them to be able to obtain it in December.
Your Honor, in April of, or I'm sorry, it was probably by the July date that I got it, of 2024, I got records from 2022. In some other time in 2024, I think it was May, I got 3,800 people's timing advance
Because they were asked within 7 days of the date that they sought it. It was the tower dump from the night of the murder asked within the 7 days.
I understand that.
Okay.
Okay, right there. AT&T, the data is available for 60 days. The AT&T data is available for 60 days.
So where's the evidence that Mr. Kohberger's timing advance records from AT&T were available to anybody in December without a prior request that they save those?
Well, I don't know if they made a prior request that they save those.
Well, they wouldn't because they didn't know who he was.
You're correct. They didn't know who he was until I think about December 19th.
Right.
Their warrant for his full scope of records, the second AT&T warrant, asked for all of the records.
Okay, this looks like information we don't know. Congress should require that FBI's U.S. person queries of 702 data, when conducted, at least in part to seek evidence of crime, are subject to judicial review under the higher probable cause. Okay, so this is citing a case, Carpenter versus the United States, holding that a warrant is required for government to obtain at least 7 days of cell site location information. So you should be requiring at least 7 days. Like we're not going to go through all that work for 1 day or 48 hours, something like that. This would ensure that such queries fully comply with the Fourth Amendment and would be consistent with criminal law in other contexts.
I haven't seen any of them. That's even if they were just the 7 days back, I haven't seen any of
What
them.
you're talking about now is a discovery issue of those 7 days that don't sound like they're particularly relevant to the murder. That's a discovery issue you can take up with the court through a motion to compel, which you have not filed. It's not an evidentiary issue in which you can lay down Mr. Ray's conspiracy theory without any evidence at trial.
Your Honor, we have litigated this issue quite extensively throughout the course of the case. The timing advance records, once I understood how timing advance works, became very important. We've heard different things now than I've heard at different times in the past about this, particularly about the 7 days. That's newer information to me now. But the carrier request forms tell me I should at least have that. I want the court to know that we have had motions to compel on this very issue. We have had different bits of information.
For the 7 days that are after December, in December?
No, Your Honor, because the 7 days is something that's newer and has been brought to my attention more recently.
Related to timing advance records for November 13.
Our discovery requests were for all of Mr. Kohberger's timing advance records. Our motions to compel covered all of them too. I have this carrier request now that says 7 days, and I have the affidavit now that says 7 days. Those are not things that I always knew when we were litigating this issue.
Okay.
Those are new bits of information. To me, it is a little bit problematic that there's been things that have changed and there might be records out there. Given
I have to say, when you look at, and Lucy, I saw your link and let me know in the chat. I think that's something that you already sent me. And I think I might have that pulled up because Cy Ray's affidavit and his information that is in there absolutely addressed all of this. So for Hippler to say that he didn't, like when I looked at it, could clearly see, yes, he did. Like, did you even read it? So on the screen, it says this accusation comes by way of sworn statement. the Syray affidavit. So why wouldn't Hippler demand that Syray explain himself to the court? Right, because what Hippler was asking for, I believe, is in the affidavit, in those documents attached with it. But if you're the judge and you still have questions, let them answer them. Let them answer them. Hi, Dago. There you are. I was looking for you all morning.
What you have now with the affidavit was 7 days.
Hope
If you
you're doing
imagine you
good.
didn't know that, and you
I understand your confusion and concern previously. What I don't understand it is now.
Now, the second part, it says that investigators recently obtained certified records from AT&T, and that'll be disclosed in upcoming discovery production. My understanding is that that's not related to the above. It's not related to Bryan Kohberger's records. It's related to other records that were done later for other folks. But we will be providing that in the next production doc.
So again, you guys, that's how they're walling it off. Those records might very well be just for the victims. They probably are. Maddie, Kaylee, Ethan, Xana, and Jack Decor. There's 5 of them, right? That's probably what they are. But they're missing the point that if those exist, so can Bryan's. That's but they're not showing that. Let me know if I'm wrong, Lucy. Let me know if I'm wrong.
In light of the evidence, I don't understand Mr. Ray's accusations without addressing the 7 days that he had that information when he submitted his.
Oh, here it is. Okay. So this is what Syray put in his affidavit. Ready? Line 9, I don't know what it's under, but it says, oh, this is where he's talking about one such individual is Boyd Jackson. Mr. Jackson is a program director at AT&T who manages many of the programs I am referencing. Mr. Jackson is the primary contact for the FBI when requesting records outside of the standard GLDC process. Now, remember, Lucy showed how the FBI has different people, right, in the field that around the country that can do this. And then this one says, this AT&T GLDC did not provide law enforcement with AT&T. Okay, so Syray is saying the state is correct that AT&T GLDC did not provide the timing advance. That's not how you do it. They didn't do it because that's not how you do it. As a matter of fact, in May of 2023, the working group known as GLDC had only begun their storage of timing advanced records. The first official release of AT&T timing advanced data was not provided to law enforcement until June 15th, 2023 by GLDC. So the state and the defense are on the same page about that. No one's arguing that. In 2022, the FBI obtained AT&T timing advance records from another source outside of GLDC. Like, boom, there's the claim. So was Hippler saying, if Hippler wants more, he said Boyd Jackson is the guy. So what else would Hippler want? Then it goes on to say timing advance records in the state's possession. During this investigation, law enforcement obtained the following AT&T timing advance data. So here we go. 2 of the victims had AT&T phones, right? Law enforcement obtained AT&T timing data on both of their phones. B, law enforcement developed an early investigative lead in the case, and that person had an AT&T phone at the time of the crime. Law enforcement obtained his AT&T timing advance data. Law enforcement also requested a tower dump consisting of AT&T timing advance data. This request involved AT&T providing all of the connections between 2 specific cell sites in Moscow during a 2-hour period. The data produced was AT&T timing advanced data. In all, there were over 3,800 AT&T mobile phones identified in the timing advanced tower data. Okay, so you see, how are they getting these victims' AT&T timing advanced data if the GLDC didn't produce it? And you guys, all of this information was had at this hearing. I mean, it's ridiculous. All right. What else does this say on here? Okay. I mean, basically, a forensic examination of the AT&T timing advance records in the state's possession show Mr. Jackson's association with the reports. A forensic examination. So, do you think the defense is Cy Ray the expert that can do the forensic examination, or would you have someone else do it? A forensic examination. So there it is. Boom. Proved it. I mean, what else do we need, right? Sorry if I'm making you angry. Hi, Paco. I know it's infuriating, especially now. Like, I listened to this hearing real time way back in the day, but Dago is back there waving his arms at me. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Thank you. I'm
sorry that I wasn't able to be here before this, but I had a doctor's appointment. I just got back and I saw the message through Discord. So hi.
Okay. I figured you were busy doing something. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I would have been here sooner. I always love joining you. This is a good topic too.
Thank you. I apologize I didn't see you.
No, it's okay.
Usually I just look at, the StreamYard screen, but because I'm trying to read these documents, I figured out a way to like blow them up. I've got my screen on YouTube at like 300%.
No, it's fine. It's fine. No, I do it to people all the time. I leave people backstage for quite a bit. I hate doing it, but I get it. No worries.
So isn't it infuriating that, like I was saying, we all listened to this hearing in real time, but I don't feel like I didn't have an understanding.
Honestly, I didn't realize either until Lucy explained it. And it took me even after she explained it, which is, I know it's so frustrating for her. I feel so bad because she's always telling us all these things that we don't quite get right out of the gate. It takes a minute, but yeah. But I'm grateful for her because I didn't quite get it then. And I was like, wait a minute, which was infuriating, like you said, because as we were sitting there watching, Annie did a video on this, Miss Potts, and replayed the hearing where he's sitting there going off about this. When we know Cy Ray's in the background sitting on Zoom, they're ready to speak anytime that he would allow, and he wouldn't. And Ashley Jennings is lying through her teeth saying we're sorry, Your Honor, but we don't have this information, blah, 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 blah. When she's lying, we know that they have it. If you have Xana and Maddie's information, there's no way you didn't have Brian's information, period. And they just kept going with it and going with it. It's all absolute bullshit, 100%. And yeah, like I said, I didn't fully understand the gravity of the depth of the bullshit until Lucy explained it. And I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
How are they getting away with it? Is what and Hitler has to know that, Kim. He has to know this. During that hearing, he had to know that, in my opinion, and just continued right on with what he did.
Yes.
And allowed for it. That's the worst part. You know what I mean?
I love when you come up here to talk to me because you just made me think in a different direction. We do this all the time.
Every time.
So here's my question, Lucy. The only thing, because as you were talking, I'm like, okay, we just read Cy Ray said in his affidavit, Boyd Jackson can give it. They had the other roommates, AT&T timing advanced data. What if So if what the state is saying is true, that they didn't do it for Bryan, they didn't do it at all. What evidence is out there, Lucy? What do you think Cy saw, or what are we seeing that shows they absolutely had to have had it? You know what I mean, Dago? Am I making sense?
Absolutely. 1,000,000%. Yes, ma'am.
There's got to be a map or a report or something that was said. Like I get the point that it was
something that proves it.
Yes, it was possible to get it. 1,000%. I got that.
Well, she said it. She said they absolutely did it. They're just not producing it. They're because I think they know, and she'll correct us if I'm wrong. I think they know that if they were to produce it, then it would have to be explained how they received it. When that comes to the table, in turn, they're in trouble. Going back to what Hitler said, there's people's jobs at stake here. Well, guess what? That's not our problem. You know?
Right. I'm thinking like, I'm just thinking.
I think
like,
the only proof, Kim, would be the fact that they did provide Xana and Maddie's information. That would honestly be the only proof, because then you would have to say, well, how did you get theirs? And in turn, there's your proof. Well, if you got theirs, why didn't you get Bryan's?
But if they didn't get Bryan's, that's the state's choice. They don't have to. Yeah, I'm just like looking at this from the argument I'm going to get. So they're saying they only used cast viz, which is just called detail records and the towers pings.
Right.
So I'm just trying to think, what did Ann Taylor see, or what did Cy see that would be evidence from the state that they had to have had, or are they just saying we want it?
Did the defense talk to Boyd Jackson possibly? Did the defense possibly talk to Boyd and Boyd said, I gave this to them? They have this information. And Ann knew that, maybe?
Right.
I mean, I'm reaching, okay? I'm probably wrong, you know, and like I said, Lucy will correct us if we are. I hate that she has to do that, but
she said stop.
See?
Stop, think about what you were saying.
I mean, I don't want to make mistakes. Think about what you're saying. Okay. I'm thinking.
Well, I know that the defense wants it because they want to prove exactly where he's at.
You're saying that the state would have chose to not use the FBI and get timing advance. He is the suspect. Right.
And they would do that to get I know logically. I'm just saying proof wise.
Yeah, I was actually going to say what she just said to you too. Like they would have to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But therefore, here's the thing though, Lucy and Kim both. If they know Bryan's innocent and that getting that information is going to prove that he's innocent, maybe they won't. Because then they would have to show that. If they have that in possession, they would have to show that, and they would know it's not going to say it. It's not going to show that he was there. It therefore in turn it's gonna burn our narrative to the ground. You see what I'm saying?
That's why, yeah, I don't know if you were here earlier, that their strategy is like they get it through the FBI, but then they wall it off in secrecy, right? Like it looks like we don't have it.
Right.
Yeah, that's what it looks like for sure.
The tower he connected to 23 times stops short of providing. Yeah, it's the one that doesn't provide.
Well, here's some proof. Someone made a good point a long time ago that I saw, like, how did they know he was at like Costco and Winco and Walmart and all of those other places if they didn't have that location data?
They did have video at some aspect on him. That's true. But I think there was
How did they know to go get the video?
Right. No, you're right. That's what I'm saying. I know there's more to it.
Yeah.
There's 3 towers in Moscow at the time, only 2 provide. Yeah. The one that he connected to was not the same tower that connected to the address, the 1122 address. That's where one of the problems was. And Twiz, we talked about that a long time ago. But that is a good question, Lucy. How would they know? How did they know that he was at Winco and Costco and all them places, other than the video coverage that they had on him?
Because I think that's a little far out to just go. I mean, they hardly got all the cameras from around the immediate neighborhood.
Right.
You know? Charm
Yeah, and then
free. What are
she
we?
also said back there a little ways too, which is a good point. The state never claimed he was there 23 times. That didn't come from them. That's where my thing came from. Like, where did that come from? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Oh my God, Kim, I hate this case so bad.
I know.
And
Wait a
knowing
minute.
this here, this is one of the biggest deals for me right here. The first warrant is for the 48 hours.
Yeah.
That was Lockbore.
Yeah. That's a certain kind of data, right?
Yeah.
Oh, they probably backtracked his bank receipts to see where he went. Good thinking, you guys. Yes. I'm still trying to see how.
I know, Meg.
Because the first warrant is for 48 hours. Right. But the other one's a full. Yeah. I don't know. I don't want to get convoluted here right now, but yeah, that kind of like struck me. But we are definitely, I feel, Lucy did an excellent job, like showing the clips from the hearings and what was being said, and then giving all this history and the information about the cast and the FBI access and the laws and all that stuff. It's been wonderful.
He didn't make any purchases in Costco, SRB. He just stopped, asked a question, left, and went on to the next place. Is where he purchased his stuff at, from my understanding.
Because he didn't have a membership.
Right. They said he never used his bank card after 10. That's true. I remember that one. Yeah. The people were trying to say that's what proved his guilt, was because he didn't use his bank card after that, which I think is such bullshit, but okay.
Oh, wait a minute. Lucy's proof. I apologize to you, Lucy. I apologize. And Dago, it's right here. Number 4 at the bottom of the screen. A forensic examination of the AT&T timing advance records in the state's possession show Mr. Jackson's but it's still talking about the victims. I'm sorry. Nope. I'm looking for something that talks about Bryan, but we'll keep looking. We'll keep looking. All right, I'm going to play this more.
Yes, ma'am.
He is available to testify if the court wishes for him to.
It's his obligation and your obligation to establish that evidence of that the state has this, and you haven't done that. His affidavit is quite extensive, and he seems to ignore that issue.
Your Honor, I believe that issue is touched on with his knowledge that these kinds of records existed a long time before.
He said that in a very general way about that, without reference to the 7 days, and he had supposedly received them from some FBI expert to look at for his company, and then was told not to use them. So I don't know, maybe the FBI got them in a way that they weren't supposed to at that time, for all I know. He didn't name names, he didn't identify it, he didn't put it into any context. The state had indicated, and they provided AT&T sworn testimony, that they only keep them for 7 days. And yet he makes the accusations that he did in his affidavit without addressing that 7-day issue at all.
Because it doesn't.
And so I guess my point is if you want to cross-examine the witnesses about why didn't they rely.
Sorry, what was that?
No, I can't stand when he says that whole, because he didn't address the 7-day situation, but because it doesn't matter. Sai is smart enough. Sai is smart enough to know that. And honest to God, I would have to believe that Hitler's smart enough to know that too. But that's the only thing he has to reach out to at that point. He knows that the 7 days doesn't matter. It has no bearing on this with the FBI. Nothing. Okay. He knows.
No, and I feel like Cy Ray explains that perfectly clearly in his affidavit. That's why I was like, did he even read it? Did he even read it?
Well, he had to have read it to be able to make the statement he did, but he's playing stupid, in my opinion. He's playing dumb because he knows that if he, again, this is my opinion, you guys, when I say this, Hitler knows that if he approaches this conversation, once he's in it, he's stuck in there and he can't back out of what he's doing.
Yeah.
And he knows what the effect is going to be. Basically what, in essence, and excuse the phrasing, Kim, but he's going to Okay, I guess somebody just told me to shut up, so I'm good. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're gonna take care of that.
Wow. Anyway, you know what I was meaning. I'll be quiet. My apologies.
No, do not be quiet. I don't know who this person is. Now they're saying, isn't the state supposed to argue and not the judge? Yes. They might have been just like talking to Hitler, like.
Well, all I was saying was that him interjecting into that statement and like delving into the situation is him basically picking up a big pile of shit and throwing it at a fan. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
For lack of better terms. That's why I said excuse the term.
He definitely found a little nugget inside of this whole, like, out of all the information he chose to pick out, it was the one thing he could argue. So to stall, right?
It just bothers me so bad when he talks because I think he knows. I have to say, as a judge, even if he didn't read it himself, somebody, his assistant or whatever, probably read it and told him what it pertains to. In that instance, you would have to know as the judge to make the statement he made. He knows something, I'm telling you, and he knows that if he interjects and he starts the ball rolling with this situation, once it's moving, he can't stop it then. Okay. And that is going to cause all sorts of commotion and probably an investigation into the prosecution and things like that. And it would have delayed the case more, maybe, who knows? It would have given, probably given the continuance to Taylor, the defense side, so on and so forth. It would have caused, in my opinion, a bunch of other things to go down that would have caused more problems within the case for him to not have to deal with. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And Hemisphere made a good comment earlier that there's no way they could have allowed that to be entered because they wouldn't have been able to go to the plea deal then. Right? Because it would have been called out. Right?
That's what I thought too.
Yeah.
In turn, I still have to wonder if that plea deals conversation was not something the prosecution and the judge talked about periodically way before that situation. But, concluding the fact that he made the statement, time's getting close and I'm going to need your last best offer by the end of June, July, so on and so forth, whatever it was. So I think he was anticipating
they couldn't keep going on with that because they were getting too close to calling it out, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. The 7-day retention period did not exist in 2022. Lucy said it's that simple. There you go.
No need to address it. It didn't exist. All right.
And AT&T timing information. You got to show.
Whoops, sorry.
Oh, no, it's my fault. I just said he should have never said a word about it.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. Be quiet and I don't know. Judge hardly ever, just kindly ask some clarifying questions once in a while. That was it.
Yeah. And I'm sorry. I'll be quiet now. I didn't mean to overtalk or anything.
No, please. It's fine. I got about a half an hour left of this.
Some factual foundation that was available to them by the time Mr. Kohberger was on their radar as it relates to November 13th. And I'm not seeing that as the problem.
My first question to Special Agent Balance, who would be the person who would have got.
Okay. And had there been a forensic examination of the AT&T records that are in the state's possession, it would show the state's misrepresentation to the court. But didn't he say in his affidavit there was a forensic examination? I thought so. I'm going to keep going.
These through a different channel through the FBI would have been, did you get them? Because I've heard different things along the case, asking him a question is really what I wanted to be able to do. And that's why I opposed this motion and prepared it as I did.
Tell you what, I'll let you ask that question outside the presence of the jury.
Thank you.
At the time of trial.
That will satisfy me. Thank you.
I just for Mr. Ray's information, because he wasn't here the first day I started this trial with you folks. I said,
you guys watch Ashley Jennings' face and watch Herwit. They are like, oh my gosh, what is going to happen right now?
Don't want theatrics. I don't want accusations that aren't supported with evidence about supposed bad conduct of the parties. You're all professionals. I respect you all. And the accusations he made in there are very concerning. The kinds of accusations, if true, that would get people disbarred. And so without
Did you see the look sheet right there?
any evidence
Look
and
right
apparently
there.
sidestepping
He knows.
the clear explanation.
She gives the dirtiest look.
She knows because she knows it affects her. It's her that he's basically talking to without saying it. You know what I mean?
I know. I've watched that a couple times, and I'm
you
like,
gotta love it too. You gotta love it because she's so crooked and disgusting. She makes me sick.
what thought do you think is going through her head when she gives that look?
Oh shit. You know, that probably that, and I'll deal with this. You know, I think she's that shady that she would do something to protect herself over anybody else.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Her
She
eyes
was-
tell a lot. Those eyes are dark and evil.
It looked to me, yes, Lucy. Well, Lucy does play it a couple times. At the end of her look, it does look like she's almost going to cry.
She probably was because she knows that she's lying. She knows that if anything comes out, if this stuff doesn't hit the fan, it's blowing right in her face, period.
That's what I think she was thinking in her head right there.
Yeah, altruistic. What am I going to do now? Yeah, exactly. I agree with you guys. And
Yeah,
this
that
is what
was.
makes me so mad, Kim. And I'm sorry, I'm over talking again. I just get so wrapped up and
No,
worked
that's
up
why
over
we
this.
come up
I can't
here.
stand them.
Yep.
If she got away with it, that's what makes me so angry. She got away with it, as did Thompson, but she really got away with it, and it makes me sick to my stomach.
Yep. And then she you know, it's almost, I was thinking like she's looking at Ann Taylor like, you know, how dare you, or even like, oh my
How
God,
dare
I
you.
can't believe you did, you know, like be
Yep.
able to figure it out. And
Yeah, she thought she was
definitely.
smarter than everybody.
Definitely mad. I think, all right, let's one more shot of this look.
He makes those. And so that doesn't make me happy.
Oh, yeah.
No.
And to address the court's concerns
good
of what's
one,
been
too.
raised, I think the only issue out there, I have the 2 search warrants. The state asked for the AT&T timing advance records in our search warrants. The state wanted that information from Mr. Kohberger. We did not receive it. I did not receive those records from AT&T. I do not have them. Thank you, Your Honor.
That's a lying. She's so. Oh my God, Kim, I can't stand her.
Oh, thank you, Meg. Do you think, because I've been thinking about this, do you think it could be true that the prosecution doesn't have them because just the FBI has them and they're not turning it over to the prosecution?
Well, I don't know if that I believe that, okay? Because the FBI doesn't care. They don't care. I mean, if anybody finds anything out on them, what do they care?
Right.
I
What's
mean,
their
same with-
repercussions?
Exactly. Same with the DNA thing when that all said, they said, don't use this, but the idiots used it anyway. Again, we warned you, and now you get to go through all this bullshit, but we don't care. That's your problem, not ours. I don't think that they would care. I don't think they would care, to be honest with you. I might be wrong. That's my opinion, though.
Yeah, Lucy says they shouldn't. Okay, so I got a $4.99 super chat. Thank you, Meg, to tell you, Dago, that High Heels was telling Hitler to shut up and not you. So I'm glad.
I understand.
I'm glad to know that. And High Heels, I think I removed that comment just to be safe, but sorry about that.
Well, and I just didn't want to overtalk. This is your show, and I would never want to step on your toes or anything. So.
Yeah, you're good. You're good, High Heels and High Heels and Henny. All right. It's good to see you here. Thanks for being here. And I didn't show you. I did this earlier. This is my new little thing.
All righty then. That definitely will wake anybody up. I like that though.
I'm
That's
waking
cool.
everybody up over here. Yeah.
I may have to have you send that to me too. I'll start doing that to all you guys.
I will.
Awesome. I love it.
All right.
Thank you for correcting that, High Heels. I appreciate that.
Yes, definitely. We like to keep kindness around here.
As much as we can, yes.
Yeah.
All right. There's not been a showing that those records were available, and I think it would be unfairly prejudicial to try to impeach the testimony of the agent that somehow he hid or didn't provide or didn't use records that he didn't have available to him. So absent some factual
So all of this that she's showing on the screen is the evidence proving that AT&T can do it. They did do it, you know, all of that. Okay.
Let me ask this, Lucy, and in all honesty, do you think that Hitler knew that she was lying? Let me ask you that question. Do you honestly think he knows and knew that she was lying? Oh, that's I am me. Oh, they would never say that to me. Okay. Bet my life on it. See, that's what I thought too. Thank you, Lucy. 100%.
Yeah, for sure.
Leslie says yes too. I truly feel that in my heart, Kim. I do, that he knows and knew, and that's my reason. I think that he knew that if he would have addressed it, like I said, it's over. It would have blown up all over the place.
If I wouldn't have seen the other judges, Bev and Gall, in action already and
It'd be
see
hard to
all of
believe.
that, I would have less of a time, time to believe that, but definitely possible. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, now here's my question to you. Do you think, knowing what we saw before Mr. Hitler here became the judge, if this would have stayed in Latah County and Judge would have stayed the judge, do you think he would have addressed this the correct way? Do you think he would have allowed Sai to speak? And do you think that he would have, once he realized the situation, started an investigation into that situation?
I think he would have. He seemed very reasonable.
I agree. And I think he was afraid of this case. I think that's why he had, when it became available for him to give them a change of venue, he jumped on that. And he also, because he had the chance to stick with the case and didn't, I think that makes me feel like he didn't want nothing to do with it.
Absolutely. I think he saw the writing on the wall. He was getting it. He totally was getting it.
I've repeatedly showed you guys that one interview. That's a good point Lucy made too, though. Real quick, make it make sense that the state would ever not seek the timing advance for it. It doesn't make sense, Lucy. It doesn't at all.
Right. I get you, Lucy. I got you.
But that May hearing with Triple J, I showed you guys repeatedly, where he says, him and Ann are talking, and he says something about stuff that's going on, and she says, Your Honor, you have no idea how difficult it's been and what we've had to. And he looks at her and he goes, No, Miss Taylor, I do, and I feel for you. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. He knows the shit sideways here. So, and I think that's why he ran from this, because he didn't want to have any attachment to what was going to go down. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So again,
look at that compassion he showed her. Complete. And you don't even have to do that as a judge. Just listen to both sides, speak in a normal professional tone. And that's all anybody's ever asking for. But yeah, he seemed like, I always get vibes from people. Like, he just seems like he's probably a really nice guy.
Yeah. Stephen Hitler is not that person. By no means.
No, he is cold and icy. Yeah.
I still wonder if somebody approached him when they realized that he was taking this case on and said, we need to sit down and talk. And they had a conversation about, this is what the outcome needs to be. This is what the state's looking for. This is what needs to happen for whatever reasons there are. I feel like that conversation was had. I'm just going to say that. I'm not saying that somebody bought him. I'm not saying that we don't know. Somebody may have threatened him. somebody might, if it's serious enough and it goes high enough, somebody could have approached him and said, listen, this is what's supposed to happen here. You need to somehow make sure that happens. And I do struggle believing in those types of things happening, but I've looked into it and they do happen. I'll just say that.
Oh, yeah, they do happen. It could be as simple as just meeting with the prosecution team.
Mhm.
Like, you know, kind of getting an overview of the case, or I don't know how they have those, you know, meetings in chambers or whatever they call it, but could have just been
yeah,
something
the
like
ex
that.
parte hearings and stuff. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just wonder. I just wonder is all I'm saying. I'm not putting it out there as like I fully believe that you guys that he was either bought or threatened or convinced to be biased the way he was. But it's weird because if you guys watched him, I mean, he was an asshole through the whole thing, but he wasn't so bad until the very end. And when Bryan took the plea deal, Hitler kind of like completely transformed into some evil Ebenezer Scrooge version of a worse version of himself, and was just completely rude. Had no call for anything. This was at the very, very end, okay? And something, I feel like somebody went to him somehow and said something needs to go down here this way, or something's going to be wrong. You know what I mean?
You know, I see examples of behavior from him that could make it, even with him coming in right off the bat, right? The way he seemed to have a chip on his shoulder the whole entire time. So maybe there was a reason for that. You know, I could see that.
You
Go
think
ahead.
maybe or he truly thought Bryan was guilty from day one and just didn't care to be a judge and decided he was going to work for the prosecution right away.
Could be because that narrative, you know, how the public, they just prosecuted him in the public opinion. Plus, if they did go to Hitler and say, you know, here, I don't know. I'm trying to find, I lost them now. Where did I had them pinned?
That's a good point, Leslie.
You guys convinced me. Everybody's putting comments about why or how we would know that they got, like this one. They got them for Jack D, the timing advance records, who was a suspect. So what would be their reasoning for not getting them for any suspect they had? Good point.
I'm
Good
telling
point.
you, that is a great question. But I'm telling you, in my opinion, because they would have proven their narrative wrong.
Oh, for sure.
I feel like it would have destroyed their narrative. Bryan would have been shown to be shown to be innocent based on where he was. And I think that's partially what Cy was looking at. And that's another, it would have destroyed the entire case, in my opinion.
Yep. Here's another one. Hitler said Mortenson's statements were consistent and reliable. Hi, Tony Stevenson.
That's so sad.
Oh my God.
Yes. Heels and Henny's right about that other comment too. That was so far out of line, you guys. Any judge that is presiding over a case that has any kind of like reality behind them would never make a statement like what Heels and Henny just said.
Yeah. Diaper Dandy. Hello. Did I say that name right? Hello.
I think so, yeah.
High Heels and Henny and his comment about alt perps not driving the white Elantra. Right. They could only drive to the crime.
There has to be a white Elantra. That has to be, no matter what.
Yeah.
That's so ridiculous.
All right, I'm going to play. Let's see how much more we have of this.
Knowing that he had them available, I'm not going to allow questions about that, and I'm not going to allow testimony about that. Now, if you want to voir dire him before he testifies in front of the jury, I'll allow that. And if you show a factual basis for it, I'll allow it. But you haven't. at this point.
I appreciate the opportunity to ask the question outside the presence of the jury. Thank you.
Thank you.
Which she never got.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any response?
Your Honor, just really briefly, I want to talk about item 226, the Hemisphere program. Ms. Jennings asked me if we meant the timing advance program. That's one and the same. I just heard her say that those records don't exist. I just need to be clear, if they don't exist, then I need to know that. If they do exist and they were used, I need to have them. She mentioned that item 250, that's the balance training records that we have, that we don't have that. That balance training records related to the use of the Gladiator machine, we don't have those. 251 is partially complied with. That's the certificate on whether the Gladiator machine was working appropriately. We need the follow-up the next time that machine was put back for testing. Both machines, there were two. 263 and 264.
Okay. So I feel like there's been a couple times in these hearings where Ann Taylor should have went more cutthroat at the prosecution and back towards the judge about what she was saying. And I feel like she was right there just now. Like she was like right on the verge of making her point. And then she always backs off and says, well, I'm not saying that the prosecution, had that or did that. But so to me, those were greatly missed opportunities for that. And the judge also said something. Was it the judge that said, well, they didn't have that or they didn't? I don't know. But I'm like, how do you know that? Or why are you saying that? Because it's the opposite, actually.
Why do you think she did that, though, Kim? That's the question, because I feel like she was so strong through everything else when she was calling something out. But at this point is when she seemed to get weakened. And I got to wonder, is there a reason behind that? Okay. It just didn't make sense to me because she was such a great attorney throughout everything else, other than the fact that there was a couple things in the very beginning that I was slightly disagreed with, but there's reasons for everything I think that she does. And I just feel like for some reason she felt maybe she was threatened. There were things stated that her and her family had been threatened, as well as Bryan's family and all that stuff. Was this part of this, or was it because she knew that no matter what she did, she was just going to get ran into a wall?
Probably.
That's what I was wondering, because I've seen a lot of people go at her. Her mother died and she buried her 3 days before the one hearing, and then she showed up, and I almost feel like he took advantage of her probably weak persona at that point, possibly not being all in the game there.
Yeah. I'm not trying to be. Sorry. Did you finish your comment? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm rambling again.
No, you're okay. I agree with you, but I think like I wouldn't call her a strong arguing attorney to me. I think she's assertive. She's not soft spoken, but she's got a very like pleasant tone about her when she talks. So she's not aggressive, so I don't think she was like that the whole time, but I do agree with you that I think it got worse towards the end. So yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. And plus someone else made the comment about, don't forget, she still works for the state, right? They all work for the state.
Well, at that point, I think she had separated from the public defender's office and was on her own.
Well, true.
I'm pretty sure at that point that had already happened. I think. Again, don't quote me, folks, but I'm pretty sure that's how that went down.
I remember people saying that.
I think. But I did notice one thing, though. I mean, bringing that up, Eliza Massive, she didn't seem to falter to him.
No, I love her. She's spicy.
Yeah. Yes. I agree. I think she gave up at the end. Had Massive been up there, in my opinion, she would have been. Yeah. No, 100%, Jen. That's what I'm saying. Like, Eliza just didn't give a shit. Like, I don't care who you think you are. You're not
Yeah.
going to pull the wool over anybody's eyes when I'm standing here. So, yeah.
Right. And I believe I read that she is an appellate attorney. So I would love to see her go after this, you know?
Oh, God, yes. And she probably wants to, considering what they did to them during this case. I would agree with that.
Okay. What's Lucy's point here? Anne provided the Cy-Ray affidavit with the exhibit supporting it. Okay. So he saw everything. He had everything.
And he still pulled his shenanigans.
Yep. That's why I think there has got to be so much fuel for whatever can be done for some type of post-conviction relief.
And I said yesterday, somebody asked yesterday, like, well, why haven't they done, or why wouldn't they do something about we don't know that they're not, you guys. This is not something that's going to be publicized until it blows up, until it happens.
Exactly.
They could be working on proving the prosecutorial misconduct, the judicial misconduct, anything that went on with this case as we speak.
Mm-hmm.
That could be why they're so quiet. That could be what's going on in the background right now without us even realizing it. I'm not saying that's what's happening, so don't quote me on it. I'm just saying it could be. Okay. And if it is, fingers crossed that it is. I have everything crossed that it is. When it does blow up, it's going to be big.
Mm-hmm. And they could also be waiting for the forensic digital records to be, I don't know what they're called, but how we got the forensic DNA stuff released. Because that's probably the only way they're gonna get to see any of that.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. Well, I would think they've already seen whatever.
Well, and now we have this lawsuit for WSU, and I tell it's not going to directly affect this, but it is going to affect this in some aspect. I guarantee that.
Well, if it goes to court, yeah.
Yeah, if it makes it to court, of course.
Yeah. So why are we comparing on the screen FISA Section 702 and FISA Title 1? Oh, it's United States citizens versus foreigners. Okay, we got all that. Gotcha. All right, let me play a little bit.
Balance and Kennedy's past training records. I'm happy to hear that I'm going to get those. With regard to the videos on exhibit RR that the court has under number 21, this is where the business said they already had given over their videos, and Ampersand and One World Cafe are both listed on that as well. So they were given to somebody to go to Moscow Police Department at some point in time. And that's it for clarifications for me. Thank you.
Great. Excellent.
Really important with the misleading of the magistrate. When you look at 1A, that's the map we looked at earlier today, where there's the whole loop around, but there's a blue line as if pointing the car towards Moscow, and that's not what happened. They then report the phone stops reporting to the network at 2:47 a.m. And that's not right. We submitted their cell experts report that say the phone stops reporting at 2:54 a.m. We submitted 2 affidavits to you from our experts who have worked with the call detail records, and that's just not right. Don't get caught up in thinking 7 minutes don't matter here. We're talking about ground that can be covered in a vehicle in a short time. We're talking about 2 towns that are fairly close together. And so the way a car points when they go off the network matters a whole lot in this circumstance. That's not corrected in any of the affidavits. That's the part that's really exculpatory to Mr. Kohberger, is what direction, when the phone stops reporting to the network, what direction is the car traveling? And you can know that based on the cell towers, the handoffs from tower to tower as it tracks where a phone's going. The FBI knows how to do this. They chose not to do this. They chose to take a time 7 minutes before it released.
So this is what Lucy was saying earlier. So it says the best policy is to discuss with your local AUSA and determine what method or search warrant should be pursued in order to acquire the records from the cell phone company. And she was saying that, is his name Hurwitz? Am I saying that right? Josh Hurwitz, that he would be that AUSA guy. So that was a good catch.
stopped reporting, and they chose to make a map that showed a direction that that phone wasn't traveling in to create a false narrative for the magistrate to rely on to find probable cause.
Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am. Sounds good.
All right. And Judge, I have paper exhibits for you and for the witness. And so I'll go as fast as I can, but I want you to be able to look at what he's looking at. So we're going to begin with the first AT&T warrant. Prior to this case, had you ever secured an AT&T warrant?
No, ma'am. I don't believe I had.
And so given that, who did you rely on in creating the warrant?
Largely
AT&T?
Special Agent Balance. Obviously, he's the CAS expert, so I relied heavily on his input.
Is the paragraph that talks about Mr. Kohberger's phone using a tower that provides service to 1122 King on a number of occasions. The PC affidavit says 12. Your Honor needs to take a look at, I believe it is D1B and C. That's an email from Nicholas Balance.
At the time that AT&T warrant 1 was secured, were you co-located with Special Agent Balance?
I believe so, yes.
Can you, in terms of being more specific, it was December 23rd. Were you two co-located at that time?
I believe so, yes.
And he's talking to the detective in Moscow about the dates that he says this thing happens.
And I know co-located has been talked about in court a couple of times, but can you just explain what it means for you two to be co-located since he's from DC?
Certainly. Yeah, he was in the same building as I was, just mere feet away from the command post.
And he puts those dates in his cast draft report and in his cast final report, and they don't match up. There are different dates on those, different times on those. But the really big deal about that is that it's misleading when you say the cell tower that also services this particular location.
Okay, so when you say mere feet away, were you guys in like a cubicle setting or were you in offices with doors? What was this setting in terms of proximity to each other a few feet away?
Yeah, separate offices with doors, but in the same second floor of the Moscow Police Department.
Moscow has, I think, 2 cell towers that service the town. Those cover places that one shops, places that one eats, places that one gets gas in Moscow. From the records, you can see handoffs, and so you know where a vehicle is going. You can know whether it's stationary or not. You can know whether it's parked, looking at a particular place or not.
Are you aware of Special Agent Balance in his work in doing
Okay. Payne is on the same floor as Balance. While Balance is getting the dates and times wrong, that also later change. And Payne is clueless about SA Balance's ability to access it. Clearly, yeah, he's doing work behind the scenes that they don't know about, but
no communication.
And so frustrating when they ask a question, like seriously, like she asked a question about where was your office in location to Balances, and he like, well, to the best of my recollection. Come on.
It's ridiculous.
AT&T
crazy
records having any access to AT&T records without a warrant?
I'm not aware of that, no.
Based on those records, we also provided the records just so the court would know there's a volume of records. I don't expect the court to decipher those records, but based on those records, they absolutely knew that Mr. Kohberger wasn't around that residence, wasn't parked near the residence, didn't stop and have his phone in a stationary position at that residence. They absolutely knew that that's not what was happening, but they put it in there to make a connection that didn't exist.
Are you aware of him having any ability to review AT&T records through any portal without a warrant?
Not to my knowledge, no.
They put it in there so that the judge would think that this was the right person.
But let's go from the uncurious to the downright nosy. How many illegal FISA queries have occurred under your leadership of the FBI?
And they shouldn't have done that. They knew that was incorrect. They also changed that quite a bit, performed a drive testing. And so there were other bits of data that kept coming in so that they would know that was untrue. Now, for a magistrate to be relying, remember, on somebody who's a witness, somebody who's been interviewed 4 or 5 times, and continually says something that's absolutely impossible, has memory problems, and the judge never knows that, and we'll keep the IgG identification off to the side. But then you have this false narrative that looks like stalking, that looks like following, and it's not true. That is extremely damaging. It's very misleading. It's an outright lie to the magistrate. When you omit that kind of information, when you take that context out, you might as well say stalking, because that's what you're trying to say.
So can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Because, oh, that started refreshing. So she's saying that they gave inaccurate information? Is that what you
Go ahead.
Because she said they flat out lied. Like, oh my gosh. I'm going back and listening to this is just giving me a different perspective on what I heard the first time. So
Right.
yeah, she's saying the prosecution is claiming that Bryan was, in the neighborhood or around all these times. And she's like, that is a lie. So she's saying that there's
They're lying.
data and evidence that shows otherwise.
Yes, absolutely. They did that to make the phone align with the footage, right? They said the phone stopped reporting at the same time that it, and yep, she's right.
Right. Now, during these hearings, aren't they allowed to do that thing where because they did it with Karen Reed all the time, like a sidebar or those little discussions, like shouldn't Hippler have been, I need to speak to you guys in my chambers. We need to hash this out and see what's going on. I feel like if you were a fair, impartial judge, you would have done that. Like, what's going on here?
I feel like that's why, because he knew.
Mm-hmm.
Or that's, what I'm saying. I've said it again and again and again. Yeah. He knew. He absolutely knew. And so did she. And that's the issue right there. That's why it never went any further.
Right. And your point stays the same, right? The judge knew, the judge knew, the judge knew.
Yeah.
And we're seeing Anne in all these hearings, like changing her tactics and trying to get him to acknowledge it.
And he would not do it. And that's why I feel like at the end of it, the plea deal came down to effect that it's not going to matter what we do. He's not going to.
Mm-hmm.
And that right there in itself, in my opinion, was enough to toss this. If you cannot put the suspect at the scene of the crime at the time of the crime, he doesn't exist as a suspect any longer. Okay.
Right.
And that's huge to this. And if that was the case, he wasn't gonna even approach it. It's almost like she said, what the hell's the point?
Yeah. I mean, she tried everything. I do give her that. She tried everything.
They're going to convict you. You're going to get the death penalty and it's over. So at this point, I think our best bet is just to get the death penalty off the table and we'll see what can happen down the road. That's how I took it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. And Lucy's point up here is that they would not wait 4 days, right? If you look at the dates on the warrants, right? They're not going to wait 4 days before looking at that data. And
no,
just because they're continuing to deny, it does not mean that is going to come true.
Exactly. Yeah, if it's not Bryan on the first lap, they're not gonna. Right? No, I got you.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point too, Lucy. Is it him on the second or the third in the final? Right? Yeah, he's just not going to appear there out of nowhere.
There's no way you can identify that car on that camera.
Not clearly. No.
I mean, their guess is as good as ours.
We've tried it every which way you can, and then some, a couple more times, and it just doesn't clearly. You can't, at least not to me. Here's the thing: I don't think they could either, and they have experts that this is all they do is look to be able to identify these vehicles, and I don't think they could.
Mm-hmm.
But or let me go to the other side of that. I think they did and it's not him. And they knew that. And again, that's one more thing that would destroy the case. So in turn, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I absolutely do. Okay, let me see here. We've got about 20 more minutes.
And you know that's not true. This court can rely on our proffer in D1B and in the cast draft report and in the cast final report because those dates change. The court can rely on the evidence that will be produced at a hearing from defense experts that will talk about the handoffs, the patterns of handoffs, and how misleading that paragraph was to the magistrate.
So I guess the question, Director Ray, is did you not know when you were answering these questions that the FBI was engaging in these illegal searches, or did you perjure yourself to Senator Lee?
I certainly didn't perjure myself. At the time that I testified in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee, I didn't have that piece of information. I will add.
Well, that was a court order. You didn't have that piece of information because the court hadn't yet rendered a judgment. Did you not know when you gave the untruthful answer before Senator Lee that this was going on?
It was a truthful answer. I did not believe FISA had been involved in the January 6th.
But it was. So you didn't. The answer is the FBI has broken so bad that people can go and engage in queries that when you come before the Congress to answer questions, you're like blissfully ignorant. You're blissfully ignorant as to the unlawful queries.
The real story is exculpatory to Mr. Kohberger. He was not stationary around that house. He was never at that house. He did go to Moscow. He did drive around, but he wasn't over there. And the phone records absolutely show that.
Bingo.
We'll move forward to the set of warrants that come a little bit later in February, March, April. I'm talking about Amazon, Google, Apple, those kinds of warrants that come later. Here's what is left out of all of those warrants. The fact that Mr. Kohberger gets arrested, his apartment gets searched, his car gets searched, his car gets searched again, and his car gets searched again, and there's absolutely no connection between him and anybody from 1122 King. And what I mean by that is that there's no blood in his car, there's no he wasn't connected to that house, to the people in the house. Your Honor, I'm
maybe I made thinking of a different date for the AT&T. I thought not the cell tower stuff. So you still talking about the cell tower stuff?
No, I mean that stuff applies to every single warrant we have because that was early.
You transitioned to warrants that were obtained after the arrest.
I did.
Yeah, and by the time of the arrest, they had a direct DNA connection.
Your Honor, what I'm talking about.
Some other evidence that the defense can claim in cross-examination or their own case is exculpatory, but isn't the DNA connection in itself probable cause to support any of it from there?
Your Honor, the DNA I'm talking about is the lack of DNA in Mr. Kohberger's car and the lack of DNA in his apartment, the lack of connection to the individuals.
What is that? Even if disclosed, preclude a finding of probable cause when there's a DNA match between the DNA and the sheath in Mr. Kohberger. Isn't that probable cause every day and twice on Sunday?
Not in this context.
The famous line.
Not in this context because of the IGG work, because I mean, that's the ultimate question that will be before a jury. What does that mean, right? What does a knife sheath at a scene mean? That's going to be the ultimate question. You're
killed by a knife, it probably means a lot.
It might mean a lot.
Probable cause is not a proof beyond a reasonable doubt standard. It's probable cause to think that this person might have done it. And I'm not sure how that direct DNA connection to a sheath found on or near one of the victims doesn't close the book on anything on probable cause after that.
Well, I think it doesn't close the door on probable cause. I think when you know the other factual information that the magistrate should have known, I think that there's a lot of pause even at a probable cause level, Judge. This was information withheld from the magistrate, and I'm talking about, let's just go with the car. Let's just go with.
I understand the lack of evidence of DNA material or other victim.
Okay, so this is Exhibit 4 that Lucy had on the screen, and this says, I gotta make it a little bit bigger so I can see it. Exhibit 4, Certificate of Authenticity.
Related material in the car.
Pause. Of records, FBI report from SA Balance, and screenshot of records provided to defense. That is April 8th, 2025. So again, Exhibit 4 is a certificate of authenticity of records, FBI report from SA Balance. So they did see his report. So they did see FBI report from Balance and a screenshot of records provided to the defense. So it's all the stuff they had as their exhibit. And there's only about 5 minutes of this, so I want to let it play to the end, and then we'll talk. Can I see it now?
In his apartment, as asserted, but I'm not sure how that precludes probable cause when there's a direct DNA match. There's plenty of reasons that might be the case. When a magistrate's looking at this, they have a direct DNA match to a person from a object likely associated with a murder weapon. I've not yet met a magistrate would not find that probable cause.
If the magistrate had the other facts, I think the magistrate would have some serious concerns and would not find probable cause. Your Honor, the vehicle, and I know the court knows what I'm going to say. There's not DNA in that vehicle that was brought out from a crime scene. This absolutely matters, Your Honor. If you want to go to the state's theory, right, with their videos that they've talked about, they told the magistrate about, that this is the video, this is what matters. It parks at this certain time, it leaves at this certain time. If you want to go to that, there's about 13 minutes of time, right? 13 minutes between the last time you see the car and the next time you see the car on the video. And if you end up with a car that's searched, and I mean searched and taken apart, the brake is taken apart, the gear shift is taken apart, the key fob is checked. There's no blood on any of that, none. The steering wheel, there's some kind of spray all over the interior of the car to check for it. There's no blood. I think that there's context that the magistrate should have known. That's absolutely exculpatory to Mr. Kohberger, and it matters a whole lot.
I'm not saying it's not potentially exculpatory. I'm just saying I'm not sure how knowing that in light of a positive DNA connection would cause any magistrate to say, well, okay, I guess there's no probable cause here because you couldn't find other connection to forensic evidence. When there are other things in the affidavit or affidavits at that point that could explain that, including the use of covering clothing and covering gloves and all that could be put into a bag real quick on the way out that was in one of the affidavits. I guess, and I don't intend to argue with you about it. I understand your other arguments, but when you get to once they have the actual DNA, evidentiary DNA, it seems to me that it's an uphill battle to say there's not probable cause at that point.
Well, Your Honor should never get to that question, but I'm going to answer it for you. But you should never get to that question because you should have already found that AT&T 1 and AT&T 2 were terrible, and there's no probable cause for those, and they just build on each other. So you should find that the very first one lacked probable cause, and then everything else does as well. But let me answer your question there. If the magistrate judge had been told there's unknown male B in blood in the house attached to the handrail, that might have made more of a difference to her. Maybe a sheath that can be carried to the house and blood in the house that's not the same, maybe that matters. And then maybe the car being completely empty of any blood DNA connection, maybe that matters a little bit more.
Well, I'm just not sure why it matters for probable cause, but I think we're talking over each other, so I'll let you just go on.
Okay. I don't think probable cause is in a vacuum. I think probable cause isn't one thing. I hope it's not one thing. I hope there has to be a little bit more than one thing, especially when you've got another thing that's the same as the one thing.
Well, I said I wouldn't do this, but I'm going to do it anyway because you brought up blood DNA of an unknown individual that was found, I think, on the handrail.
Yes.
Doesn't that necessarily not exclude Mr. Kohberger? What it may do is suggest there might be a potential other person in addition involved if you assume that blood was related to
it excluded
the victims and not some earlier event in the house.
If what the court is saying is exactly why the magistrate needed to know that. Is there another explanation here? I've got this sheath But there are all these other things that if I know about them matter. What's the other explanation? What's going on with this investigation? What's happening here?
Given the timing of these records, from what I can tell in the emails that were produced by Detective Mallory, these records were generated on the 23rd of December. It's when everything started with probable cause statements. If I had to pick a time when the wheels fell off the wagon, that's the date.
That's exactly the point, Your Honor.
There are statements and there's assumptions made in the records that will never be supported by the data.
What other explanation is there?
So that right there is pretty powerful. There are statements made, like he literally said it on the stand, that are never going to be supported. How does that get ignored?
Because this guy's an idiot. This guy's a complete and total idiot. For whatever reason he's doing it, he knows what he's doing. I'm so pissed about it, Kim. So mad.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
It's blatant corruption. I mean, clear as day, clear as day with a capital C right in our faces. Absolute corruption. I'm sorry. However, whatever the reasoning for it is, I don't care at this point. It's corrupt, period.
You know, when I heard Ann Taylor in that hearing saying, you know, especially when you have one thing that's like another thing, it was very hard back in the day to understand what she was talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, here comes my packages. I thought she was talking about like DNA or something, you know, like
One thing with the other thing, and then the one thing back to the other thing. Yeah. No, I know what you're saying, what you're talking about. She's talking about the other DNA. Uh-oh.
No, what's up?
I was just gonna say, is it Christmas time?
I ordered some pieces for Carlos's room that I'm organizing. So
Yeah,
that stuff's coming. Now I think isn't this whole thing is about timing advanced data? Is she talking about you have data that's one thing, but then the other thing that is the FBI backdoor approach?
Well, Lucy said she's talking about the other DNA.
It was about DNA.
That's how I took it too, but
okay, could be. All right, I'm gonna
Either
let
way,
you get that, and
it's just the thing that kills me with it. Like I said, is it's there's no doubt about it. It's blatant corrupt. Okay, blatantly corrupt, and it's many different ways. So it's just disgusting to me. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, the DNA, right, Lucy? The two profiles on the sheet, and then we've got the two ways to get the timing advance data. Yeah, it's crazy.
There's no way how that you would have to be an absolute, complete, and total idiot to not understand it as like a judge or an attorney. You know, it's understandable for us not to understand it, but if you're a judge with the experience and the time that he has, he knows and is completely ignoring it.
Yeah. And there's no oversight. Like, what do you do? Like, I don't.
And I would give me 5 minutes to talk to this idiot is all I want to say to him. just give me 5 minutes to sit down and say, what is wrong with you? And you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know what you're doing. You're affecting not only the law, but you're affecting a man's life. Okay. You're affecting a man's life by doing this. And I don't want to hear well, sometimes you have to make a sacrifice for the good of others. No, because you're not giving the other 4 lives that were taken any justice by putting the wrong man in prison for something he didn't do. You idiot.
Yeah. If you're going to prosecute somebody, you got to have strong evidence. And, you know, even because Hitler was arguing that about the DNA, right? Well, there's, you know, his DNA is at the house, you know, his DNA is at the house, but
maybe he shouldn't have left his DNA there. Piss off.
Even Othram, the owner of Othram, has a statement in an interview where he said, you cannot just rely on our DNA process. It is up to the investigators to find other corroborating evidence.
And they found nothing.
Because clearly he's saying it would be a weak case, right? That's all you got. I mean, whoops.
There's no
You're gonna-
case.
You're going to have a
It
hard
depends.
time.
Prosecution had nothing.
Yep. Hello, Boricua. Good to see you. Yes, I agree. All that other DNA for sure. So,
How does he completely ignore all that, Kim? That's my question. How are you completely ignoring the fact that you have a speck of DNA on this man, but you have all this other DNA that they refuse to do anything with, and you're okay with that as a judge?
yeah.
No, there's no excuse.
Yep. Hello, James. Did you, is this a new James or did James change his username?
I don't even see.
In
Where's
here.
he at? Where's he at?
Love and Other Habits. Hello. Good to see you. And Rochelle Fiscus.
Fiscus, yeah.
Yes. Good to see you. Chris Tatt, Miss Pottage. Thanks for being here, you guys. All right. Just a few more minutes. Let's
Make sure you
see
guys
how
hit that like
Lucy.
button.
Sorry. Oh,
I was just telling him to make sure they hit the like button for you.
yes. Thank you. Lucy's going to end this. Let's see.
Magistrate wasn't given a chance to ask that.
There's a lot of claims that are said in these emails, and even the name files of the records are problematic. But it does not represent what it's claimed to represent.
She wasn't given a chance to ask that when she wasn't told about unknown male B, blood on the handrail. She wasn't given a chance to ask about that when she wasn't told about unknown male D, blood on a glove right outside the residence.
Sounds like those might be pretty important to us, then, Mr. Kohberger.
I could give examples, but I know it's a very technical thing, so I'm not, it could be extremely impactful to either side. I'm not saying just in defending Mr. Kohberger, it could be extremely impactful in prosecuting Mr. Kohberger.
Look at Judge.
She wasn't given a chance to ask any of those questions.
The problem's the problem, not what the data helps or hurts.
Several warrants, and then Mr. Logson's going to cover 4. So I'll just wrap all of my argument up instead of getting up and down for each one. My oral argument is not meant to rehash every point briefed or every argument briefed. I'm giving you big picture comments based on the testimony, but I want to make it clear that we're not waiving any written arguments. While I question Corporal Payne and Detective Mowry about some exhibits, but not all, it was not an indication that others are not important. I wanted to make important points, but not belabor. With IGG and Franks having been addressed yesterday and the fact that the primary issues that I'm addressing have to do with general warrants, I'm not going to rehash those arguments, and I'm going to focus on the legal issues, beginning with the AT&T Warrant 1, Pen, Trap, and Trace, also known as AT&T 2, and the cell phone /USB drive. The Fourth Amendment requires particularity sufficient to prevent the exercise of discretion by an executing officer. The particularity requirement's objective is that necessary searches should be as limited as possible. A search warrant must be particular enough so that, as to what is taken, nothing is left to the discretion of the officer executing the warrant. The government cannot seize the haystack to look for a needle. And there is an undisputed privacy interest in cell phone data, including cellular site data pursuant to Carpenter. All 3 of these warrants were issued in December 23rd and early January 2023. The 2 AT&T warrants were issued on December 23rd, 2022, within an hour of each other. The first did have a temporal narrowing. AT&T 1 had November 12th, 12 a.m. to November 14th, 12 a.m. The warrant itself was extremely broad and did not incorporate the affidavit. In support of this actual failure to incorporate, the officers admitted that they did not incorporate in the search, but to the extent that the state is going to argue that when the warrant says upon offer and proof, that is the same as hereby incorporates an affidavit, I pointed out the language in certain search warrant affidavits to show you that they do know what it means to actually use the language herein is incorporated Exhibit A, and that same language is not used in a single search warrant affidavit. So the incorporation that would be a remedy for this issue potentially of particularity doesn't exist when the search warrant affidavit is not included. Even if for
All right, I think I need help understanding this, Lucy, if you're still listening. 12,471 hours is around 17 months. Seems pretty ridiculous that the CASVIZ experts, the FBI, would need more time to double check their work.
It shouldn't.
Oh, that's how much time that they have had to work on this. That's what the point is.
So there shouldn't be any more time needed at that point. I agree with that.
Yes. Okay, I got it.
That's
I got it.
ridiculous.
Yep.
Well, the statement she made beforehand, where she pointed out that Balance figured out what he figured out in the period of time he did, and now they're saying they need 17 months to do this. I mean,
Right.
that's so ridiculous. Come on.
Right. So what does that tell us?
It tells us it's BS.
Yeah.
It's bullshit.
Yeah.
Sorry,
And
but it is. Yes.
yeah, they're just holding on to it.
That's
right?
all they're doing is that's exactly what I think it was. Okay. Because they knew that there was going to be a timeline put out. You have to have this to the defense in such and such a time. So they waited to the very end. And then when they did give it to the defense, they threw it at him like, one of these, here you go. 52 card pickup. You figure it out. She even claimed how disorganized everything she received from them was. And I think they did it on purpose because they knew it was going to take her forever to go through this. She brought in I can't remember which hearing, but said, Your Honor, I brought in an expert to look at the 51 terabytes of digital evidence that we have to go through. And that expert said it would take me 3 years to comfortably go through this. We don't have that time.
Right.
They did that on purpose because they knew, or 6.63 terabytes. I'm sorry, you guys.
Yep.
They did it on purpose because they knew that she was not going to be ready in the time. That's why Thompson kept saying, "We're ready, Your Honor. We're ready to go anytime you are," with his proud ass. And they knew that she wasn't going to be ready. They knew she was going to ask for a continuance. They, in my opinion, knew he was going to deny it because Thompson kept saying about how long they've already delayed justice for these families. He played off of that card. So here we are back at this point now. It's all a joke.
Yeah. And
sorry.
Someone said, yeah, the burden shifting. Yes, I think Ann Taylor, as respectfully as she could, was explaining that not only are they just holding on to it, they are missing these deadlines because they're waiting, and then the defense is meeting theirs, so then they get the defense's information, and then they make adjustments based on that. That's the game they were playing the whole time.
Right.
And
Tomboy just made the other point that I was going to say here in a minute, but I feel like I ranted enough. But that's a big part of it. When she brings that to the table, he says, well, bring in more help then. Well, okay, how? Obviously. And then why'd you take on the other case when she took on the Skylar Mead case? That's none of your damn business. Why don't you give her a respectful answer instead of being the sarcastic dick that you are daily? Sorry again, Kim. I can't stand this man. Everything about him pisses me off. So, I mean, it's fact. It's fact. Like, that's not his point to be saying that. That's not his place. This guy acted so far out of the realm of a judge through this whole thing. I don't understand how nobody has called this out and done anything thus far about this situation.
I mean, part of his job is the process of it, right? To make sure that both sides are like following and meeting the deadlines and turning over the discovery and all of that. That's the stuff he did the least. The least of that. Like, deadlines came and went and nobody cares.
Well, but yeah, here's the thing. If it would have been the defense that would have missed those deadlines, guess what would have happened?
Oh, right. Yeah.
You know that. But no, he is, well, whatever. I guess me and Bill got another round of golf coming up, and we'll have lunch with Ashley over here tomorrow. And that's how he makes it look. But there again, nothing was done he would do nothing for them, nothing for the defense that she requested, nothing that she needed. He argued everything. He interrupted. She didn't even get to finish sentences and say certain things, not to get them on record sometimes because of the way he interrupted her. He's supposed to, his main job, for nobody that knows this, as a judge, is to defend the defendant's rights and ensure that he gets a fair trial no matter
Fair,
what.
right. Yeah.
Period. And watch out for that. And he did none of that. None of that.
I feel like that has gone out the window in our judicial system.
It seems like it. Yes.
It's
Absolutely.
complete opposite now. I think it is, someone said earlier, how Ann Taylor worded it, that it's flipping the script on that, right? I forget. Burden shifting. That was the good one. Yeah. I think the whole system has done that.
Well, judges have taken on a new role now. A lot of them have taken on it. Look at Judge Gall, Judge Hippler, the judge in Karen Reed's. I don't know why I can't remember her name right, or their name right now, but that judge, and then Val. Sorry, and then I mean they seem to have taken on a new role as a judge, and it doesn't match up to what the Constitution plays out. Bill is a jerk, making the masses think that Ann was the one pussyfooting around. Yeah, Bubbly's right. That's an absolute fact. 100% that's what he was doing, and it was all him. But 100% he threw the blame on her immediately.
Yep.
He's a joke. He's a pathetic piece of work. That's all he is. Nothing about him as a man.
Yep. I'm going to play the last few seconds of this because I got to go to my daughter's basketball game, but I'm sure. Wait, where is it talking about Amazon now? What is going on here?
Another good point too, Bubbly. He didn't start saying Your Honor until he got to Ada. Makes you wonder.
Who said Your Honor? Oh, Bill Thompson. Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah, Bubbly's on point with that too.
All right, let me see this ending here.
I want to just briefly bring up, I think yesterday the court had talked about privacy rights with the IgG databases. And I certainly want to make sure that we are preserving that argument. We included it in the briefing. We do believe that Americans have a privacy interest in the genetics they share with other people, and that other people then place within these databases. So that is not something that we intended to abandon in any way yesterday. If the court has no other questions for me, I would rely on the briefing.
Thank you.
If you please, prophet, black swan with the boy slave. Cable bringing stones, don't feel about a stone in the bones. You better be aware. Wash your sins with fire light, but they can't pray for sure. Make a spark, simplify on water the altar, but it's still good alive.
Great way to end that, Lucy. Great way to end that.
I want to start with this because
I wish I would have paused that very ending. Was that let me stop sharing.
You can probably go back to it, but yeah.
Yeah, real quick. Wait. This.
My time is almost up. I want to ask you another question. In the Senate hearing, in response to Senator Wyden's question of whether the FBI is currently purchasing.
My goodness.
Just drag it to the end, right?
I'm trying. My mouse is not cooperating here. Where are we at?
I love that.
Come on. What are you doing here? Oh, there. I got to do it like this. There we go.
Very heavy-duty surveillance system. In the United States, we have via our phones, via the internet, much of what we do is now surveilled and very easily accessible. And so the fact that we have the third-party doctrine made sense when it was being adopted back in the 70s and the 60s. It stops making sense once all of this information is easily accessible the way that it is.
Happy November. Whatever you do this month, don't feed the trolls or the feds. Don't let them feed you. Don't take the bait. Don't play with fire, but burn whatever.
So it says that data could only come from a federal source until May of 2023, saying it is terrifying that so many just accept what is very blatant and obvious lie would be the understatement of the century. And then let's see the Gonsalveses.
Bridges you need to burn.
And so our point is that the judiciary has to have a role in this.
Oh, and thanks for being my neighbor. You can cross my bridge anytime you want. That's sure a fit.
It has to
Without
be
a
a judge
search warrant.
between us and the executive. Otherwise, we're essentially allowing the executive to know everything about us all the time. And so the state makes the point that, similar to the one that Professor Kerr made about going and getting bank materials, once those were things that could be done simply and efficiently via these records, a person didn't have to go out and get the cash. The state argues in this case, because of Amazon, Mr. Kohberger didn't have to go someplace to purchase items. All of that would have been out in public. He's doing it on his computer. And so why should that make it private? And the reason why that has to become private, Your Honor, is because of the vast amount of information that is now so easily accessible to the government. If we don't require a warrant, we essentially put all of ourselves at hazard of being snooped on at any time. And so I also just want to just briefly bring up, I think yesterday the court had talked about privacy rights with the IGG databases. And I certainly want to make sure that we are preserving that argument. We included it in the briefing. We do believe that Americans have a privacy interest in the genetics they share with other people, and that other people then place within these databases. So that is not something that we intended to abandon in any way yesterday. If the court has no other questions for me, I would rely on the briefing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kiss the sun, sing the song if you please, prophet. Black swan with the boy slave. Cable lane, bringing stones, no fear. Without a stone in the bones, you better be aware. Wash your
All right, here we go. Peter Van Sant, your mind is still open to the potential? Steve Gonsalves, of course. Peter Van Sant, that it could have been someone else? Steve Gonsalves, of course. Yep, I go into that 100%. Yep, of course. Peter Van Sant, that's not where you are. That's not where you are. Christy Gonsalves looks at Steve and says, no. Steve Gonsalves looks at Christy and says, yeah, that's fine. Oof.
What does that tell you?
I heard you. I think you guys were talking about that on your show the other day, weren't you? About how they're not like,
they're not on the same page.
Yeah.
And it makes you, somebody said,
about marriages, right?
Yeah, and she wears the pants in the family, so on and so forth, and he's only doing what he's doing to keep her happy, blah blah blah. And Christy was the one that said early on that she believes that it was somebody close to Kaylee, that was a friend to Kaylee, possibly. And that's never left my mind. So.
Say that again. What? Oh, that Christy thought it was someone close. Yeah.
And you know, but now she's not willing to think that it was anybody besides Bryan. I'm sorry, you already said what you said.
Yeah. I could see at the beginning thinking that it was someone close to them, but after hearing what happened to them, I just
there's something not off. There's something not right with them. There hasn't been. I can't quite put my finger on what I think it is, but I know grieving makes people do weird things, but only to some extent. Okay. Something's wrong.
Yeah. I leave them alone. I pass no judgment on them and try not to.
No, I understand.
Really.
I do. I'm not gonna on your show. I'm not gonna put out. You know my feelings. I mean, I mean everything I say with all due
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
You know, all due respect to their loss. It's horrifying. It's horrible, and I will never, ever, come down on him about ever. There's just other things that I'm not comfortable with. That's all.
Yep. I don't. To me, the perpetrator, it doesn't make sense for sure that it was just a stranger going into the house or strangers going into the house. I don't buy that at all. And I don't think that it was someone they knew, at least not like, I don't think that the like college students just concocted this to like get back about something. I don't know. To me, it's always been more of a like hit type thing. In my mind, I just think
Were you there yesterday for the visitor we had to our show?
The commenter.
There's multiple comments that he posted. He said he was the chef for Segma Kai.
Oh, yeah. I did see that. So yeah, I mean, I'll listen to all that stuff for sure. I mean,
you can't take it all to heart, right?
Yeah.
But there's something interesting about that, because anybody could say those things, you know that. Just saying.
Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna end with Lucy's. What did she say here? The state lied about the AT&T data. Okay, I think she pretty much showed that in her whole video presentation.
Right.
All AT&T. What's SW? All AT&T had identical verbiage and
Search warrants.
oh yeah, all AT&T search warrants had identical verbiage and served the same way identically. Yeah.
Right.
Lucy, I just have to say this was so informative.
They always are. Everything
To
she
me.
worked out.
In her videos are so packed full of information, visually, auditory. I mean, I'm glad that I was able to show this and like slow it down and talk through it. And I hope that it helped any of you that are out there listening and watched this with us today. Definitely informative, taught me a lot. I didn't know about the whole, national security part of it and everything like that. So
I'll say this much, and I know I go overboard sometimes when I say things about people, but Lucy is an amazing resource to this community and always has been. And I really, really appreciate her, because there's so many things that I had a little bit of a grasp on. I'm not fluent in legalese. I'll just put it that way. Okay. So I don't really get some of the stuff, and I don't understand a lot of the technical stuff. I eventually do. It takes time, thanks to her and many other people that have put out information, and the fact that we can sit and talk through these things. And sometimes as we're talking through these things, all of a sudden something goes plump and it's there. You know what I mean? So that's why I enjoy being able to talk with you. For some reason, I think we bounce off each other well. For some reason, you say things and it just helps me to understand. And you've said the same for me. So I'm grateful to be able to do these things.
Yep. I just want to. No, I agree, Dago. Thank you so much for coming up here and talking about this with me. And for Lucy, like, even to be able to know what to search for, right? To research and know the organizations and see the nuggets that, once you get to that site, oh, okay, this is important. Like, being able to differentiate what's useful, those are some skills, girl. Those are some skills.
And she'll send me things when we're right in the middle of a conversation about something. She did it yesterday, and I'm like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. Ding, there it is. I don't know what that means. Ding, there it is. She's very good. Very good.
It's immediate. I do not mean to just cut this off short, but I do have some place I have to be in a few minutes.
No problem.
A long one. I think this was my longest live ever yet. So I appreciate everybody that hung out with me for all this time. Like, that's amazing.
I'm sorry I was late, Kim. Like I said, I didn't see that until after the facts, and I was at my doctor, so I had been here way sooner if I could have been.
And you would have been up sooner if I would have saw you.
I was only back there for a matter of seconds. No worries.
Then when you said I fell off the stage, I was dying. Oh my gosh, I didn't even notice. That's so funny. You were like, hello. That was funny. Oh my goodness. Yeah, thank you all so much for a wonderful time today. Informative.
Very much so.
Today. The major point is the FBI can access that information without a warrant.
Whenever they want to.
They can just do it. That's just, if you don't remember anything, just remember that. Tomboy asked if Carlos is changing his mind yet. I did see your comment, Tomboy, and no, but I think if we go through all of this is the information that will change his mind. If it can be shown Bryan was somewhere else.
And the timing advance is still available today. So there you go.
Timing advance still available today. Yeah. Because I don't think there's a time limit, right?
I don't think so either. No, it was great to see Bubbly in here today too.
Yes, hello, Bubbly. Thank you. Appreciate you. I think where I'm going to go from here, if I can, I'm going to try to find a case to compare, like a comparison case, like I have been. So what happens when the FBI does this? Is there a case where the FBI has accessed information and it's come out later? Like, did someone get proven innocent? I want to see if I can find that. So
that would be very interesting. I'd be interested to see that.
That's where
she just said Richard Allen was AT&T. Delphi.
All right, here we go. Maybe that's going to be that'll be a good segue too.
That would be wild. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there was something else.
Karen Reed, Tomboy said she thinks maybe possibly too.
Oh, wow. All right. That's crazy. 2 right there. Karen Reed and Richard Allen. All right. Well, thanks, Dago, again.
Oh, thank you, hon. Appreciate you very much for having me. Very much so.
Coming up, and I got to go take stats for basketball now.
That's fine. I hopefully will see you maybe later on.
Yeah, I'll be around later for sure. You have a great day.
You too, dear.
Okay.
Good luck.
Yep. Hey, everybody, please hit the thumbs up on your way out, and let's give Lucy lots of shout outs and thanks in the chat for her information today. Like, she provided the information. I just kind of facilitated going through it and discussing it. So I am going to go run to my event, but I appreciate you all. It was so nice to see so many green members in here. I don't think I said hello to Betsy Ross. So hello. Thank you for your comments that you share all the time. Appreciate you. Phenomena Mom, hello. I don't think I got to say hi. And Vivian, hello. If you're new today to this channel, please subscribe so you'll be able to come back. I do make videos and do lives, so put some variety of content out there for you. I've also been reading the docs, so you can just kind of click on that and listen to the information in there. Have a great rest of your day. I'm sure I will see you all in these YouTube streets. And I will see you back here on the next one. Appreciate you all. Bye.
Thanks for watching. Hope you felt the spark. Please hit that like before it gets dark. Subscribe. It's free and keeps us going strong. You're part of the crew now, right where you belong. Join us next time, same truth, same fire. We bring the heat and never tire. We're typically unique and proud to be a husband and wife in podcast harmony. That could be unique, yeah, that's you and me. Don't forget to like and hit subscribe, it's free. Come back again, we'll be right here with truth and laughs and zero fear. But that's the show. One love, two minds, letting it flow. We dig deep with crack jokes, we call it like we see. If that's your vibe, you belong here with me. We don't always agree, but that's the show. One love, two minds, letting it flow. We dig deep with crack jokes, we call it like we see. If that's your vibe, you belong here with me. We don't always agree, but you felt the spark. Please hit that like before it gets dark. We dig deep with crack jokes, we call it like we see. If that's your vibe, you belong here with me. Thanks for watching, hope you felt the spark. Please hit that like before it gets dark. Please hit that like before it gets dark. It's free, it keeps us going strong. You're part of the crew, now right where you belong. Join us next time, same truth, same fire. We bring the heat and never tire. We're typically unique and proud to be a husband and wife and want to be a husband and a wife in podcast harmony. Yeah, that's you and me, that's you and me. Don't forget to like, hit subscribe, it's free. Come back again, we'll be right here with truth and laughs and zero fear.